please welcome my guest for this evening, Tiffany Witcher. Good time zone. Hello, hello. Welcome on in, Tiffany. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. Very excited to be here.
Oh, well, happy to have you. For anyone who might not be familiar with you, if you could introduce yourself.
Oh, okay. Good time zone. My name is Tiffany Witcher, otherwise known... Oh, sorry, my mic. Otherwise known as the VTubing charity Witcher on Twitch. I'm an accessibility advocate that's worked for companies from Sony to Square Enix. A voice actor. I've worked with games such as House Party, Knockout City, and I'm also a charity streamer that's done over 75 charities on this platform in the last 5 years, going up on 6 now. So yeah, that's all about me.
Yes, indeed, and I know that you have a lot of things going on very actively, plans for events in the future, and announcements that we cannot talk about here tonight, but that in the coming weeks, definitely want to keep an eye on, Tiffany, because there's more things in the works.
Yes, I'm very excited. There's going to be a big announcement in the next couple of weeks, and this NDA is killing me.
NDA, I understand NDAs, and I am under, I've lost track of how many NDAs I'm under, actually. It's a lot. Fortunately, it's very easy to remember, all right, this is NDA information. I don't need to worry about, okay, it's an NDA for who. I just know mentally, this thing is NDA, sort of compartmentalize that until I know it's there, and then it's okay, boom. That I don't bother mentally classifying what is NDA for who. It's just NDA or not.
NDA or bust.
Yeah, it makes remembering things easier, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who you're keeping that professional secret for. It's just, okay, cannot talk about this, I know that.
Yeah, that's basically it right now. I cannot talk about this because it's a dream come true, but I've done so many NDAs for so many different game companies, for voice acting, for auditions and stuff like that, and it gets a little spicy. I've seen people break them, and it's not good.
I always am just constantly baffled when people break NDAs and such. Just what do you expect to happen when you do this? What benefit are you seeing that even from the most greedy, selfish standpoint, I can't fathom of just, all right, I can see why you might think that in this moment you might get a small bit of, I don't know, publicity, clout, or whatever, but goodness, think of the long-term implications and value that you're not being optimal here.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people think about that. I had to tell, when I got this NDA, I had to tell them, hey, I have to tell my manager, so my manager knows when the announcement is made. And she was like, oh, yeah, that's fine. I was like, okay, great. Long as that is down, because you should, if, you have an issue, and you want to tell people, ask. There's nothing wrong with saying, can I tell people close to me? Or
if you work with the company, the issuer of the NDA, and say, hey, for professional reasons, can I get permission and exemption to tell this person? Or can we have them sign an NDA? That way they're on the records as well. But just operationally, my life will be made infinitely easier if I can provide this information, and here is why it is valuable to you as well.
Definitely, because like I said, I can't wait till it's announced. I'm very, very excited, honestly. Nervous at the same time, because I don't know what people are gonna think. So,
well, I'm excited for you. That just for me, NDAs are a positive thing, a happy thing. That obviously there is a subset of NDAs which are legitimately scary and oh, that's not a good thing if you have to be under a specific subset of NDAs. But I would say good 80-90% of the time, NDAs are happy things. That it's, hey, something really cool is happening and just for business purposes, we can't talk about it yet.
Right. No, it's gonna be, like I said, it's gonna be pretty amazing. But yeah, I just hate how long it's sometimes. I've had an NDA one time for 6 months, and it was horrible because I was like, oh God, I have this news. I really want to talk about it, and they were like, no, you can't talk about that. I was like, what?
I think my record is somewhere between 18 and 24 months of becoming aware of NDA material to it becoming public. That I was in a kickoff meeting for something, and it was a longer term project So naturally, throughout the development of that project, that it was all under wraps, and it was just it was from an internship, actually. So I wasn't even with the company for the vast majority of that time under NDA, and I just sort of mentally classified, okay, I know this thing hasn't been announced yet, can't talk about that, and I actually forgot about it until it was announced. It was, oh, great, I can mention that I was in that meeting and knew about that, because it was a fun meeting, but...
I feel that 100%. Yeah, no, it's fun. It's a fun experience, but like it's just so agitating.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I understand from their point of view. They're like, hey, we want this to be a surprise. We don't know if we're actually going to go fully through with this, because sometimes plans do fail with gaming companies.
Things can fall through.
Animation,
things change.
And products, and like, as someone who's worked in the entertainment business for like since I was a kid, it's one of those things where I understand it's annoying, but I get it. Do I hate it? Yes. Do I not want to break it? No. Do I want to like tell someone? Only if I have permission.
Yeah. You mentioned that you've worked in entertainment for a very long time, and that obviously, as you mentioned, voice work and your charity work, but you mentioned to me that you've done stuff at different like resorts, you've done stage work, you've done theme park work. You mentioned also wrestling. And to be clear, we're talking, entertainment wrestling. This isn't competitive.
Oh, I did Olympic too.
Oh, Olympic competitive wrestling. Okay.
I did Olympic and entertainment.
Oh, both. Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I started with Olympic so I can learn how to wrestle properly, like to do like more in case I wanted to actually take it up as a sport. And I did do it competitively for like a year. And then I was like, I kind of want to be an entertainer. So I kind of want to go like either the WWE or the WCW at the time, or possibly Japan. So I was like, okay, yeah, I'll take theater. I'll learn how to talk, and I'll learn how to improv. And yeah, I started doing entertainment wrestling in Maryland for a little bit, and then trauma, something hit, and I could no longer do it.
Aww. And I only actually learned to really appreciate wrestling fully in the past couple years, and that growing up, just nobody in my family or friend group were really into wrestling, and so I mentally couldn't understand why people were invested in it. That I didn't have any innate philosophical problem with it, but I couldn't mentally understand, well, it's scripted, so why are people so excited and into it that if it's not actual competition, I'm not understanding why everyone is so hyped and screaming. I'm glad they enjoy it, nothing against it, but it didn't click with me. And then the first thing that really actually broke that mental barrier, of all things, it was a South Park episode. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the South Park episode WTF. It was the Wrestling Theater Federation, and it's just them doing wrestling in the Globe Theater, just Shakespearean style. And as someone who was a theater kid, that's when it was this light bulb moment for me. It was, oh, it's just theater. Oh,
yeah, it's
basically
basically
of course people
theater.
are into this. Of course people are into this, because it's all people.
Yeah.
It's the big burly folks who, physique-wise might not necessarily fit in a traditional theater role, or who want to do really cool stage combat. Oh, I get it now. And then it was a year or two later when a couple of my friends did get into wrestling and started to talk to me about it, and they were telling me about all these storylines and just everything for different personalities, the operations of the companies. And I was like, oh, this sounds actually cool. And then I watched my first pay-per-view with some friends, and I'm not a diehard wrestling fan, but I'll tune into one or two pay-per-views a year with friends now, and that I've gone through that full journey of doesn't get it at all to totally gets it.
Yeah, it's definitely a theater. Like, it's basically, I like to call it muscle theater. I like to call it muscle theater. Yeah, that's basically it. It's all about stories and like interactions, rivalries, and like some of it is improv, just like theater. Like theater can be improv.
Yeah, and goodness knows in those types of fights that if things go sideways, you might need to improv.
Yep, and you have to be careful. Like people think, I get the understanding that wrestling's fake and stuff. It's really, in a sense, not, because if you mess up the smallest thing, you could be out for the rest of your life.
Yeah, someone will be either very, very injured or worse.
Yeah, I've seen, you know, even though it wasn't in the ring, I've seen the death of Owen Hart live. And it was tragic and it was a little traumatizing. But I've seen, you know, Rey Mysterio has accidentally killed someone. And it's one of those things. He did his 619 and the person was a position on the rope right, and their neck. And
it's high risk. It's extraordinarily high risk, and the folks that get into it do understand that. But even despite all the precautions, that things can still happen. But fortunately, those are anomalies because there are these precautions put in place, and that over time, as our knowledge and understanding of the human body, and particularly the brain, has increased, that the protections have only gotten better. And that at the very least, I know that obviously the people in charge of these productions are doing their best, and that it's why things have continued on as they have, and that I feel like wrestling has gotten more mainstream over the years, reaching people like me who initially probably weren't in the target demographic. A great example of one of my favorite examples now I can actually display and show people on stream when I talk about like safety in wrestling. There was a match between Rey Mysterio and Logan Paul, and there was a part where Rey Mysterio was supposed to go to the rope and do a somersault backwards off the rope and hit, and Logan Paul was supposed to, like, you know, properly grab him and counter it. What happened was Rey almost jumped off the rope and he almost went head first to the mat, which would have been probably career ending. But Logan noticed the distance, which I'm not the biggest Paul fan, but this was great to watch. And I will admit, Logan Paul is an excellent wrestler. He's a good wrestler. He got the heart in it, and that's good, because some people, celebrities that will come in and they'll wrestle, Ronda Rousey, and will be just like not have their full heart in it. But he grabbed Rey. He grabbed him before his head can fully hit the ground and like picked him up and countered him properly. And like I said, I've had my own bumps and bruises. I've dislocated my arm because of it. I had a cracked rib one time. And I grew with wrestling and loved wrestling because my mother used to like love wrestling. Like she was like Ultimate Warrior fan, Macho Man Randy Savage kind of a person. It was one of those things that like I really, really wanted to do. I really wanted to excel at, and I really wanted to work at. But like I said, some things were just not in the cards for me at the time. Some things happened, and I'm probably gonna talk about those some things in the future. But you know, it's just the love of the sport that will make or break you in the business. And if you are truly in it, you can soar. You just have to keep pushing at it, because indies are just great. Indie wrestling is amazing. Not like when you see the AEWs, the WWE, or even New Japan. Indies are just like can be some of the places that you can find a next star, and that's what I wanted. That's what I wanted. I wanted to be discovered, but you know, like I said, some things just did not happen. Like all forms of show business, extraordinarily competitive.
It's very competitive, yes. It's very competitive. I did mixed gender match. I did a mixed gender match one time, and I did the women's division, and yeah, it was something, but like I said, it wasn't meant for me.
How long, at least in your experience, did you have to rehearse for a single match on average? So just a single day?
Mm-hmm. To memorize everything, because it's more. Like theater is about points taking. So like, you know how in theater it's like you stand here for this part, you stand here for that part. It's like that with wrestling.
You have your blocking.
Yeah, it's like that with wrestling. If you can remember like the four corners of the ring, you're good. Oh, hi dear. Sorry, my husband's bringing me food.
Hi dear.
Vtuber Talk said, "Hi, dear." He's actually debuting next month.
Ooh, very exciting.
Yeah, very exciting. Yeah, it's just like theater. You gotta know your placement. You gotta know exactly where to go. There is communication between you and the other wrestler. That's why
Mm-hmm.
there sometimes there's things called botching, where some people will pick up like a wrestler saying like you need to do this or you need to do that and stuff like that, communicating with each other, and they call it you talk too much. Um, so 1 second.
Yeah, I remember when I was watching my first pay-per-view that one of my friends was sort of giving me some commentary in terms of how it works operationally, because I'm a huge, surprise, surprise, the guy that runs a talk show is really into back-end production stuff. And they were saying, okay, they're sort of grappling with each other right now, and you see their heads are in that they're probably saying things to each other, that they're probably either confirming or coordinating for the next set of moves. And just watching things like that and seeing and sort of the guesswork as the viewer of saying, okay, something looks like it just went wrong. I can't tell if that was a scripted thing that was supposed to look bad or if it was actually, did a mistake just happen? And that fortunately the vast majority of the time when something looks like it went wrong, it's actually probably just part of the blocking, part of the script. And the fact that it is so difficult to tell speaks to the skill of the people performing.
Yeah. Like I've seen some matches where like it looked like there was a mess up, but it wasn't a mess up. And I've like seen some indies that were like that and things like that. Even like WWE, like I think one of the more major ones is like Jeff Hardy sometimes botches his matches. But like he's like one of my favorite wrestlers. But like I think in a way like every wrestler will botch a match.
Oh yeah, inevitably, especially that.
Yeah.
While I only watch generally the pay-per-views and maybe 1 or 2 weekly shows if a friend drags me in because they know there's a particularly good match that they want me to see, that if you're in that circuit, you're going to be doing so many matches a year, and that just statistically, inevitably, something's going to go wrong somewhere along the line. Everybody has their off days, and in such a high-octane form of performance that things are, there's just so many variables. And the fact that it doesn't go wrong more often than it does is a testament to their skill.
Yeah, you just have to trust your partner. Like, love them or hate them, you have to trust them, because if you don't, it's just not going to work out.
Yeah.
There'll be some...
I was going to say, do you have a favorite wrestler who is active right now? Just someone whose performance or just their persona and storyline that you have really clicked with?
Rhea Ripley. I love her. I think she's fantastic. She's very like she takes this. She really works hard, and she plays the villain so damn well. Like she plays the villain so damn well. And when I look at wrestlers like her, I was like, damn, that could have been me one day. But I'm like happy to actually see someone like her, because the women's division is like one of those divisions that, depending on where you go, how strong or how weak it is. Like in Japan, there's like a whole women's wrestling. There's like a whole wrestling dedicated to women, and they go hard. There's not like, these women look small as hell, but they hurt. I would not want to wrestle one of them. Despite at the time, if I was at my prime with all the muscle that I had, I probably would have could probably go 1-on-1, but if it was today, I'd be like, no, absolutely not.
And I know there's actually been, if memory serves, someone who was a traditional pop idol in Japan who has actually made the transition into being a wrestler in New Japan World Wrestling, and that they've kept their idol persona. It's not the exact same one, but that it's part of their character now. And I've seen some clips and some images from different matches, and that's really cool for her, because obviously, one, being a traditional idol in Japan has a time limit. That's the way it works, and the fact that she was then able to really extend her time in entertainment and find this second life, essentially, while still keeping true to something that was obviously a big passion for her and a big part of her life, is something that very few idols actually get to do. So seeing her be able to parlay those together is really exciting. And also just for the viewers, I have to imagine that's very fun as well, because it isn't the type of look and energy that you necessarily expect in wrestling.
Yeah, it's like the idol culture. Oh, jeez, Mike. The idol culture is one of the things that, like, yeah, they made an anime based on that, which is wild. That I actually watch. It's actually not. It's not bad. It's not good, but it's like it's a decent anime. Yeah, there's been a lot of idols slash wrestlers. Like Maki Ito is one of my favorites. But she's kind of like a different kind of idol. She'll be like, she sings, she can dance, but she also will flip you off. And I think that's why I appreciate that about her. She's adorable. She's so cute, and she is tough as nails. Like, oh my God, the things I've seen. She's taken like chair shots, like legit chair shots, not like the ones that they like say you have to do because we can't do concussions. No, she takes chair shots. And like, I think of like sometimes wrestling kind of like the idol culture, because when you think about it, it's like, oh, I have an entrance and I have like a certain persona to my character. I'm a heel or a face. Yeah, you have kayfabe and you have to stay in character. Like, even when they're out in public, they sometimes stay in character. Like, there's a lot of wrestlers when they're out in public, they stay 100% in character. And which is wonderful to see. A lot of fans don't like that, and I'm just like, they're playing a role.
Whatever makes the performer most comfortable, that if they want to do that, sure. But that's actually a very good point of just the similarities between the two, and that now I'm sort of thinking, all right, is wrestling just the, I don't want to call the American version of idols, but is it the macho version of idols? Is it the combat idol, perhaps?
Combat idols! Get the combat idols, we're going to war. That's actually an interesting way of calling it, like the combat idols. I like that. I would think of it like more like fighting idols or something like that. Like, I think of that. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that working. I like that a lot.
Because there's the whole thing of, you need to make sure that you go over well with the crowd. There's merch sales involved. You end up doing touring. You have, I suppose, idols generally speaking don't have written storylines per se, but they will have units, and that in wrestling you might have tag teams or trios or just stables in your storylines that are going to be perhaps similar to units that you'll have in idol performances, and just the different parallels there are very interesting.
100%, because like wrestlers, they are like almost, well, it depends on the wrestler. Some wrestlers are part-time wrestlers, like Brock Lesnar is a part-time wrestler, or considered. I'm not gonna say he is one. He's considered a part-time wrestler. Sometimes he's like, he'll like come in, stir up some trouble, then leave for a bit. And then you have your full-time wrestlers that just travel and travel and travel. They barely get a break, and those are the ones that like you see all the time. Sometimes you won't see them every week because, you know, they don't need to be working every week, but like they do that. They don't not only just do like WWE, for instance, they don't just do like the WWE Monday Night Raw and then you have SmackDown. They also do the dark shows when they like have like different shows on different nights, but it's like it's not broadcast. It's just kind of fun and games and stuff like that, as I like to call it. I call it the fun and game show because sometimes they are not fully in the character.
Yeah, those are the ones where they get to be a bit more wild because if it's not being broadcast, that they still have an audience usually, but that
they capable. Yeah,
but it's a very different type of situation. It probably feels a lot lower in terms of pressure.
Yeah, no, I've seen some house shows and they're great. Like I think and then after wrestling, of course, when they have like sometimes when the cameras are off, especially the WWE, I've gone to a couple shows live. Sometimes they do something after the show that's different. I had the honor of going to the New Year's show of SmackDown one year because I got honor roll and my mom bought my tickets and I went with my best friend. And we got to see the last match was The Rock versus Triple H.
Ooh.
And it was a good. We had front row seats. The Rock slapped my hand. I didn't wash that hand for 3 days until my friend made me wash my hand. But like, it was like after the show, Stone Cold came out and him and The Rock had beers, but they didn't show that on television.
Oh, of course not.
They were doing that, and then they Stone Cold stunner Triple H. They gave him a beer and then they stunned him, and it was hilarious. And I was just like, oh, this is good. Yeah, they went off the air, and like my mom was like, I saw you on TV. And I was like, yeah.
That's
so like it was a lot of fun. I think I was like 17 when that happened, and that was like one of the best like live action things I've ever seen. Next to seeing Miyavi live and like Darian Gray. But it was like one of those things where like, oh, I got to touch The Rock's hand. I had good tickets and stuff like that, and it was wonderful. It was a wonderful experience. I love wrestling. I will always love wrestling because it's something I grew up with, and like me and my mom used to watch together all the time. So I appreciate it. Even though my son's not into it, which is fine. My husband's not into it. I'm into it. So that's all that matters if it makes me happy, I guess.
Would you ever be interested in doing stage work for wrestling, that even if you can't be in the ring, that would, back end production, or they do have non-combatant characters, quote unquote, the managers and whatnot, that has there ever been any interest of, hey, if this opportunity were to come along, or...
Oh, yeah, in a heartbeat. Quit VTubing. I would quit in a heartbeat. If they wanted me to do like the general manager, or like someone who just causes trouble and mischief in the back, I would love to do that. And like it's one of those things that like if I had the opportunity to work with the WWE or AEW or New Japan or any of the bigger federations, I would take it in a heartbeat. But on the other hand, I would be like, I want to get in that ring, even though I can't. I would be like, let me get in that ring. No, you can't. Don't do it. You'll die.
The temptation would certainly be there.
It would be there. It definitely would be there.
I know you've done a lot of different type of event work. Like I mentioned, you've done things at theme parks. You've done things at resorts. While keeping things obviously vague, just for privacy reasons, are there any particular gigs that have stuck out to you, ones that were either just very special and fun, whether it be because it was a large event or something where even, I don't know, something went wrong, but it was salvaged in a way that I have memories of just being a theater kid, and the ones that really stick out to me are the nights where something went wrong, but that the cast adjusted and the audience wouldn't know that something went wrong, and those are always very special ones because, all right, you have your rehearsals and you know how it should go, and that if a show goes as intended, it's probably a forgettable show, and that's not a bad thing, because as long as it's good, it's memorable for the audience, which is what it needs to be at the end of the day. But when you're doing these day in and day out, they can blur together. But are there any either gigs or specific shows that stick out in your memory for good, bad, or a combination?
I think like so I used to work at Six Flags, and Six Flags usually has guests. And like I said, at the time I wasn't wrestling anymore, and one of my favorite wrestlers stopped by, Scott Hall, rest in peace, also known as Razor Ramon. I had like the biggest crush on him and everything. He was teaching one of my managers how to do some wrestling, and I was just sitting there watching, and he just looks down at me. He goes, "You want to get in?" I was like, "No, I can't." He goes, "No, come on, pretty." And I was like, "Okay." And I like got in the ring, and I shook his hand, and it was a moment where I'll probably never forget that I met one of my idols, and I did it during working at a theme park. I think the other one would be, I used to work at a haunted house in New England, and they would have guests come by. And my favorite horror legend is Tony Todd, aka Candyman. And he came through. He was a guest doing autographs, He came up and where everyone has to come through the haunt. Whether you are a celebrity or not, you have to come through the haunt. And at the time, my character, I'm being so short, they put me as a living doll. So when I heard he was there, I was like, my game was a game ready to go.
Yeah, this is the one where you are just locked in. This is your performance of a lifetime.
Yeah, it was. It was definitely a performance of a lifetime. And I did my thing. I scared him. He hit the back of the wall, and I was scared for a second, so I stared at him. And he goes, "Oh, she's good." And I was like, "Huh." Oh, and
that's everything. That's everything. I can die now.
Yeah, I'm good now. I also was yelled at by Robert Englund as he was leaving a convention. I was like, "Is that Freddy?" He looks at me, points at me, and says, "I'm gonna get you, bitch." And I was like, "Oh."
The only time where someone can yell that at you and you know that it's not actually that it's like, "Oh, I thank you."
Yeah, thank you. But like I told that story on Twitter, and Tony Todd followed me. Because he remembered me. He was like, "I remember you." And I was like, I scared him so bad that he remembered me.
Oh, that's a badge of honor there.
That felt so honorable because Tony Todd is like an amazing, amazing person. He's an amazing, amazing person. Oh, I shouldn't have looked at Twitter at Tony Todd's thing.
What?
Oh no. No, I'm not gonna worry about that. My husband's gonna be upset, but I'm not gonna worry about that. So like just to have my horror icon, because I love Candyman. I wanted to be his victim. Just to have my horror icon say that I was good, he actually remembered me, was like, oh my god. It was like, yes, I was memorable, even though you probably could not recognize me in all that caked on makeup. But I was memorable because he was like, yeah, you scared me. You scared me. And I was like, thank you. That's like one of the highest honors that I can have is scaring my idol. So that was great. That was by far a part of my magnum opus for best memory that I've had working in the entertainment business and working as a professional screamer, at least in that section.
Do you have any favorite haunts that you've been in just in terms of theming? Because haunts can be very diverse in just how they are presented. That, you know, there's the classic creepy haunted mansion, but there's ones that are circuses or a haunted forest. Any environments or just setups that you felt were really either well executed or just overall creative?
I think when I worked at Six Flags, it's called The Haunting of Hall Manor. And the reason why this one I think was so unique, it is based on a true story so much that the house is actually at the park. Like the legit historical house is at the park. They can't get rid of it because it's a historical house. It's also condemned that you can't really walk inside of it. So when patrons come in, the forest, it's in the forest area, they actually walk by the house where the girl died in. So I thought that was really cool to have like that actual house that the haunt is based off of in the area. And that the park is freaking haunted. The little girl that died, and I kid you not, this is like, we talk about like, it's you could look up Six Flags Maryland haunted. Every year on her birthday, something goes wrong. Every year on her birthday, something goes wrong. And there was like one time when I worked in the stunt show as an usher, there was a giant like anaconda like snake literally hovering over the audience. Rides will stop. She locks doors. Doors will randomly lock on the other side that is not supposed to be locked on unless you're inside that room. So yeah, Six Flags is haunted.
Okay, one of those stood out to me as confusing.
Yeah.
You said an anaconda hovering over the audience, and I take it this was not part of a show.
No. So like,
there's multiple things here of, okay, anaconda already in the audience, but hovering.
No, so it's kind of hard. It wasn't hovering. It was more like it was in like the little, you know how there's like bleachers and they go over the audience so that in case it rains and stuff.
Oh
There was
yeah, just sort of the
huge,
overhang, the cover.
yeah. There was this huge snake, and I'm sitting there being an usher, and I look over and I do a double take, and I see like the U of the snake coming down slowly. He wasn't trying to eat anyone, and I was like,
but just, you're not supposed to be here. Where's your ticket?
and I see my boss, who's one of the main characters in the stunt show, because entertainment is separated from rides and everything like that. He pauses, and he stares at the snake. I look at him. He looks at me.
What's the protocol for this?
I'm like, I slowly go with the axe, and he's like, I was like, he shakes his head. I was like,
can't make a scene. You don't want to panic the attendees.
Right, you don't want to panic the attendees. So the snake starts going back up into the rafters, and we're just like, he does the little thing, keep your eye on it. And I was like, okay, I'm staring at the snake, and I'm trying not to be obvious that I'm staring at the snake.
Yeah.
Also being, ushering and interacting with the crowd and stuff like that. And I'm just like, this snake's gonna, and this like the worst part was the snake was over a baby, and I was so worried about that baby, and I'm like, that snake can possibly eat that child. That was like one of the wildest things that happened at that part was the snake incident. That and like the power going out randomly on her birthday, like shut off everything with y'all. We don't know why. There was no thunderstorm, no nothing.
Just the circuit breaker went kaput or.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. It every year. I forget her name. It begins with an A, I think. Because I haven't worked there in like over a decade. But yeah, that place is haunted. Like, there's people that died at that park.
Good Lord.
Person got decapitated at that park, but in like kind of their fault because they snuck in, and they snuck in through the roller coaster section, and yeah, that roller coaster, yeah, it was really.
There's a reason that is gated off, and you're not supposed to be there.
You're not supposed to sneak in. We haven't had any sneaking since. I will say that. But it was like one of those things where like, yeah, I worked in haunted houses from New England all the way down to Washington D.C. and I worked in a haunted theme park. And my last name is Witcher, and I'm a goth, and
yeah, that is one of the things that you are very open about, that your VTuber name and persona is actually just your name, that this one, the branding wrote itself here.
I used to get bullied from shoot too hard. I used to get bullied for my last name, like all the time, especially going to Catholic school.
Yeah,
and
that just of all things. All right, it's a slightly offbeat name to begin with, and kids suck regardless. But also just at a Catholic school of all right, especially when you consider the more stereotypical tendencies of anything magic is demonic and not welcome in those spaces, generally speaking, especially if you rewind the clock a decade or two, that the name Witcher probably didn't do you any favors there, but then once you grow up, it's just badass.
Yeah, once The Witcher became popular, like the game and stuff, people thought that I like gave myself that last name. I was like, no, we are the Witcher family. There's a whole bunch of us in this family. And it was like, okay, well, usually people, when voice actors, when they use their name, sometimes they use a stage name. I was like, fuck it. Oh, I'm sorry, can I curse?
Oh, yes. Sorry, if I didn't mention that, the rating of VTuber Talk slides entirely with the guest. I have had someone on whose brand was Chaotic Swear Bunny. You are not the most profane person I have had on this show. I can promise you that.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
You're good. It's my bad for not telling you earlier.
No, it's okay. I probably forgot because I have the memory of a goldfish. So it's like one of those things where like, I was like, oh, fuck it. I'm just going to use my actual name. The game is popular right now. Why not make my name a little bit rememberable? And that's literally how a lot of my work came to me, because my name was very rememberable.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, Tiffany Witcher. Oh yeah, like the game, or like the TV show now, or like
just
the anime.
Just Witch in general. That it's something that is very iconic. It automatically, pun half intended, conjures up a mental image, and that can matter. That's the whole concept of branding, and that generally speaking, people's names have to become brands through their work, but sometimes you just have a really good name and you get a bit of a head start on it.
The problem is there are all the Tiffany Witchers out there, and like renaming, I had like I couldn't get my TikTok or my Instagram, which is fine. I did get the Twitch. I did get the Twitter. Now the Twitter is a story because I had connections. How I got Tiffany Witcher on Twitter.
That's impressive because it's difficult to finesse names on Twitter. That Twitch, if you're a partner or affiliate within reason, that you're able to go through customer support and get things, especially if the name that you're trying to take is one that has been inactive for 2+ years or something. Twitter, historically, at least from what I've heard, is much more difficult to get through.
It's so difficult. Yeah. So I was part of the Stream Elements Creator Program, and I think it was 2020 or 2019, and I was chosen to represent Stream Elements for diversity and everything like that. And like, it's been a great program. It's been one of the most helpful things. They were like, "Hey, does anyone not have their Twitter tag?" This is before we got Musk buying this place or talking about buying. So I was lucky that I got my tag right before he bought the place and fired everybody. So they were like, "Tiffany, do you want Tiffany Witcher and not Tiffany_Witcher?" I was like, "Please, God." And he was like, "Okay, I can make it happen." And I'm like, "Okay." Literally next day it was changed.
Ooh,
because
the back end connections.
The person that had Tiffany Witcher was not even using the account, like, at all, like barely. They haven't been active for 3 years. Now the funniest thing is, as soon as I got my name, they started to become active. And I was like,
well, because they probably got an email saying you no longer have this name, and it reminded them of something that they had just forgotten.
Yeah, basically.
I remember when I had the concept for Vtuber Talk, that the first thing I did was check, Twitter, Twitch, a bunch of other websites of, okay, is this handle taken? Because if it's something where I'm going to need to use an underscore, if there's somebody who's already doing a show like this, because I took a very low-hanging fruit show name here because I thought it was pretty obvious, and when I saw that it wasn't taken, I registered those accounts on the spot immediately. I wasn't even sure if I was going to do the show yet, but I was like, given how much VTubers are growing right now, I could see somebody else having this idea, and I don't want to wait a week to decide that, all right, I definitely want to go through with this, and then see that someone else has had the idea and taken the name. If I decide, all right, I don't actually want to do this, I'll just delete the accounts, put the names back in the pool, that's easy, but I knew I wanted to register and get those saved immediately.
100%, like, sorry, I had to eat. I need to take my medicine. So, I have some secret projects registered, and I did the exact same thing. I was like, okay, is anyone going to use this name? Like, I have like a different VTuber character that I have in the works, for like a future lore thing. Can you just give me 1 second? I just need to grab something.
Yeah, by all means. Well, she takes care of things. Hopefully, if you're tuning in, you're having a good time so far. This is actually episode 135 of VTuber Talk. And Tiffany was actually live just earlier today doing some VR chat. Her schedule is up, available on her Twitter. If you're watching this on YouTube, hi YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. Links will be down in the video description. And if you're watching live on Twitch, there will be links down in the channel panel.
Okay. Oh, horse pills. They're not big, but I can't swallow pills too well. Yeah, I have some projects myself, and like I have VTubers for Hope. No one had that, and I'm doing that next year. And I have a sticker project for a secret character that is going to be added to the lore, me and my husband's lore, or lore of Hex Terminus, as we like to call it, which is our place that we've been building together as a VTuber couple. So I understand that feeling, like reserving your name everywhere, because I did that, and it was just like, oh.
It's peace of mind.
It's a peace of mind, yeah. I was upset that I didn't get Tiffany Witcher on Instagram, but I didn't really use Instagram. And then when I registered on TikTok, I was like, I'm not a TikToker. I didn't get the concept of TikTok at first, and then like Then like I started getting addicted to TikTok. I'm like, damn, I wish I had Tiffany Witcher. Sometimes I'll check periodically, like if like the person who has Tiffany Witcher at TikTok is like giving up the name or like
Mm.
you know delete the account. I will check like randomly, like I'm checking right now.
Survey
So
says.
nah, she still has it. She hasn't been active for. Last time she was active was in August.
Okay, so not quite long enough where you could put in a request saying, hey, this account might no longer be used, but
Yeah.
it's been a minute, so maybe one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I'll definitely keep an eye on it. It's funny because though when you put in Tiffany Witcher, my account pops up as top account.
Yeah, because it probably prioritizes it just algorithmically based on
yeah.
other search factors, and that if yours is more active, that it will come up easier on a search.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what, like, I got my YouTube, which was shocking because someone already had Tiffany Witcher, but because I think you have to hit like 100 likes or something.
Yeah, then in order
like
to actually
that.
get the custom handle, you need to have 100 subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah, and I was sitting at like 400 at the time, and I was like, oh, I can apply for
You
this.
can just do this right now.
There was right now, and I was like, I got Tiffany Witcher, nice. And so like I think only like I got Instagram. I have Tiffany Witcher VT, but I think VT is the only other name that I use. And yeah, no, it's been like a journey. Social media in a nutshell is a journey. I still don't get it most of the time. I just have to like read stuff, pray the algorithm is in my favor, and then go forward.
Mm-hmm. Now, you've been mentioning your husband and that you're planning a debut for him and that you do a lot of work together as a content creation couple.
Yeah.
I also know that you met him in World of Warcraft in an RP server, and you are now, at least off the top of my head, I know that you are at least the second person I've had on this show who has met their spouse in World of Warcraft on an RP server. Do you recall the first introduction or just what was going on in this particular server?
So we are on a server called Warm Rest Accord, Alliance side, and I roleplay a priestess of the light, and he's a warlock criminal, but how we met was kind of weird because like I was already in a storyline about this big evil dude in the city, and he just pops up and listens in one day. He just pops in, he overhears us talking, he pops up, he listens, and the guards turn to him and go, it's him. And I was like, who's this? And they're like, they're like, get him. And he's like, they look at they was like, oh, this person's wanted. Like he actually had wanted posters and stuff. So they chased him all the way to like the city, and he loses them, which was hilarious. And then we meet again in like a bar, and like he witnesses another thing in the storyline, and then he just wanted to, like, his initial thing was his character wanted to murder me, but my character was like, you're interesting.
Well, hold on. Why did his character want to murder you? What was?
Because he just wanted to. He was like this really dark evil warlock, and he was like, man, if I kill a priestess of the light, I'll get notoriety, you know? Like she's a priestess of the light. She's bright, beautiful.
Because I was thinking already. You mentioned, all right, you're a priestess. He's a thief. I'm like, okay, these are two characters that are probably not going to be on the same side.
So like, my character starts like, because she doesn't leave the city for her own protection, because she is a priestess of the light, and she needs to be at the cathedral and constantly working and stuff like that for her religion. And it was the first time she stepped out the city, and she followed him, and he's like, why are you following me? She's like, I like you, you're interesting. He's like, his character was like confused. He's like, I'm not gonna kill her yet. So we started role-playing with each other a lot. The characters fell in love first, and then at the time I was in a nasty breakup, and I started to talk to him a lot out of character, but he didn't know anything that was going on with me. Like we just talked about music and video games and stuff like that. We were good friends. Then my grandmother died, and that friendship, at the time I didn't really have the proper support, and he was there for me, and I started to grow feelings through that but then my friend was like, you shouldn't grow feelings because of a death. That's wrong. I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. I'll just let it fester, see what happens. No, those feelings just stayed. It was just like, man, there's something about this guy that's like is telling me to keep talking to him. So like I told him like maybe a couple months later that I liked him, and he was like, oh, I like you too. And then we just were like,
This
oh,
sounds like a movie plot.
oh, okay.
Just
So
the classic forbidden romance or just unlikely romance, and the whole concept of, all right, I'm going to kill her. I won't kill her yet, and I'm going to justify that I don't need to, and just almost tsundere in a way of, yeah, I'm totally going to kill you, but I'm choosing not to because insert excuse here.
right, basically what it was. And like, so when we said we liked each other, we started making plans. We didn't make plans right away to see each other. We just wanted to see how things worked long distance, because at the time, like I said, I was in a messy breakup. I had a son from a previous relationship, so introducing him to someone else would have been, kind of strange. And our son was really, really young at the time, me and Malice. So I was, getting the proper paperwork. I got full custody on my kid, uh, and we just like bloomed our relationship because I started introducing him more and more to my son. I say, if you cannot accept my son, we can't be together. And that's just my rule. And slowly my son started to really like him, and then I introduced him to my parents virtually, and then we started visiting each other, and yeah.
The rest is history.
The rest is history. He proposed to me at the NA finals of League of Legends, about, oh god, it's over 7 years ago now.
Yeah, you mentioned that, and that he actually coordinated with the people
Riot,
running the show, and that it was a whole production on stage, and that they had this just entire con set up to get you there because you had been doing cosplay for them, and that it was a whole show and production of itself, and that's so cool.
Yeah, it was really a shock because I didn't know what he was up to. I knew he was working extra hours at his job for a reason, and I was worried. Like, I was like in the back of my mind, I was like, what's going on? Like, are you okay? Is something wrong financially? We can work this out. And like, he didn't tell me anything. He just like said like, hey, I've got you something that you've always wanted. And I was like, what? He goes, I got you front row tickets to LCS. And I was like, the NA finals? And he was like, yeah. And that was the setup. That was the setup of like the lie of him taking those extra hours. He was like, yeah, I've been working so hard and stuff like that. No, he brought the ring with that money. And how he set it up was, like you said, he used my resources from Riot to contact them, sneakily like logging into my things and like saying, hey, listen, I'm Tiffany's hopefully fiance. Can you guys help me set up a wedding proposal? And Riot was like, yeah, let's do it. And it's actually on the internet forever. And it was like he set it up so perfectly. I had no idea what was happening. Like I had no idea that he was setting up a wedding proposal. I know he took me, I cosplayed there. We went to the Rift Walk, which is like this fully interactive thing that you walk through that shows like how League of Legends would look like in real life, and that's where he proposed to me. And it was like one of the most, like, I always say like the whole Tony Todd thing is, but I think that's a memory I'll never forget because I vividly remember a lot of that, thing. And I have aphantasia, but I remember that stuff. I remember walking through. I remember him getting down on one knee. I remember like me panicking because I didn't think he would ever propose. I was like, who is this? Wait, what's happening? I remember saying yes. We took a picture on the Bilgewater boat. And yeah, people were congratulating us at LCS. I forgot which country congratulated us because they were talking about, because once the video aired, I think it was Denmark. It was a country or something. I can't remember. I wish I could ask my husband. He's currently playing World of Warcraft. Wait, can you just
how
let me
very
ask him.
appropriate.
Let me ask him real fast. Do you remember the country that do you remember the country that congratulated our engagement? He'll remember. He has such a better memory than I do. His memory is flawless. But yeah, we were Hungary. It was a country of Hungary. They congratulated us on our ready proposal. Thank you, honey. It was just such a magical moment because, like I said, it was a terrible relationship. My son liked him. I didn't think he would propose because he was like, oh, I won't get married because a lot of his family doesn't do marriage and stuff like that. He was like, oh, I'm not gonna get married, and then he proposes to me and we got married. A couple years later, because we were supposed to have my mom come up, but she unfortunately passed away suddenly too. And so we planned the wedding, just a small wedding, just me, our closest friends and family, and then yeah, we went from there. It was great. It was a dream come true. They like get married, they get proposed to with video games.
So rewinding a little bit back to World of Warcraft, did you start playing World of Warcraft primarily for RP, or did you play the game and then get into RP from there? What was your initial experience with the game?
I've been playing WoW since beta.
Oh,
so I've been playing WoW.
The full journey.
Yeah, I played the beta and I didn't get to play into vanilla. And then halfway through vanilla, I finally got the game. I almost died during it. And the funny thing is, my ex is the person that got me into WoW. That got me back into WoW because he was so adamant about playing, he almost got into a car accident getting a new hard drive so we could play the game.
Oh my.
So I was playing hardcore raider from vanilla all the way up to Wrath of the Lich King. Wrath of the Lich King comes. I took a small break because I was working a lot in GameStop and I wanted to make that extra money. Found out my guild free transferred away and went Horde, and I said, I really don't want to go Horde. So I decided they had the free transfer in Wrath of the Lich King. I said, oh, Warm Rest Accord. It's a roleplay server. And I tried roleplay before. I used to do like Amp which is like LARPing. It's like live action roleplay. So like I was really into role playing, so I was just like, okay, yeah, sure, let's do it.
Given the background in theater and performance in general, that I can very much see how role play would be appealing.
Yeah, it was very appealing. So I went to Warm Rest Accord, transferred all my characters for free over, and the rest is history. And we're still on that server today. We've been on that server since Wrath, so we've been on that server about 13 to 15 years now. So I don't think we plan on leaving because it's such a low pop server. We don't have to worry about like overpopulation of players and stuff. It's more of a chill server, and I think that's why I like it. My old server, which was Area 52, it was Lothar, then Area 52, then Warm Rest Accord, because I did the free transfer from Lothar going into Burning Crusade, and that's when I really got into more raiding, doing Black Temple and Serpent Shrine Cavern. But then like when Wrath of the Lich King came out, it was just like, yeah. Halfway through Wrath, the guild just left when I took a break from raiding. The guild just dipped, and so it was just like, okay, I'm gonna go RP. Let's do it. So it was a nice change of pace because like roleplay I can be more casual. I didn't have to do crazy raid times, spend like 6 hours in the raid trying to clear bosses. Like it was to the point where like my ex, when we used to play, my guild leader hated him because of how much he talked back during the raids, to the point where he got kicked out of a raid, and he goes, you're not gonna stay with that guy forever, I just know it. And Lord, did he predict the future.
Now you mentioned that you had other characters. How many characters do you have?
I have about 20.
Oh my, that's a lot. And I'm guessing the one in the roleplay server is your primary, but if you had to guess, how many of those did you use regularly versus how many of those were sort of one-off characters?
So for roleplay, I have probably 7 characters I've used regularly. My hunter, my druid, my priest, my monk, my hunter, druid, priest, monk, my mage, a warlock, and sometimes I use this rogue, but she was kind of like a one-off character. But yeah, 7. I would say that was roleplay specific. Um, we built, like, me and my husband built like a crazy guild on that server, and like we had storylines with other guilds and partnerships with other guilds and world events, and it was great. It was honestly great, but like we just needed to take a break from it because, like, you know, we put a lot of time into role playing together. Now that we were actually living together, it was like, yeah, we don't really need to like be on WoW a lot, do we? And he's like, no. And I was just like, yeah, let's take a break. And plus the whole scandals with Blizzard going on, it was kind of perfect timing. We just came back to the game. We just came back on the grounds that we do not do a roleplay guild. We just roleplay freely, and we just have fun again, like we did when we first met. And I said, that's a deal. That's a deal I like, because he's like, I still wanna, you know, stream and do all these things, but like on the other hand, that's a lot of work.
Were you into RPGs a lot prior to World of Warcraft?
Oh yeah. My first RPG was a game called Legends of the Dragoon. It was a PS1 game that is kind of like, it's a turn-based game, but it's more of a rhythm like thing. So you have these hitboxes you're supposed to time with your A button or your X button. And it was a phenomenal it was my first RPG, and then I got into Final Fantasy, and then I got into my favorite RPG of all time, which is Skies of Arcadia. I will never not stop talking about this RPG because it's my favorite RPG. I have so much Skies of Arcadia stuff that I'm slowly collecting again, because when I lived with my ex, he kind of got rid of that stuff.
What sets that one apart for you? Because I've heard the name Skies of Arcadia several times. I'm not really familiar with it.
It sets it apart because it did something very different. It's basically the story of sky pirates. Like, think of One Piece, but in the air. So, like, the world is basically destroyed, and there are masses of lands that are just floating in the world. And no one knows the reason why the world was destroyed. But you start uncovering that mystery when you play the game, and it has to do with, like, there's some politics involved, aliens, and some supernatural. So it's one of those games where it starts like a regular heist, but it turns into something bigger once you find the thing that you have grabbed, and you're just like, oh, okay. And then you find out like there's a big thing, and like what the villain wants to do, and all these things. And it just, there's an element system where like you change the color of your sword to counter the elements and stuff like that. You can do discoveries. It was on the Dreamcast originally, and it was like, I had a Dreamcast growing up, and it was like one of those games that I just randomly saw in a store in the Funko Land. If you know what a Funko Land is, it's too damn old.
Wow, I'm having flashbacks, Tiffany. I feel Obi-Wan Kenobi went, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
Yeah, in a Funko Land. It was literally sitting in the Dreamcast section in the Funko Land. I was like, it said made by the Sonic team, and I love Sonic. Sonic is one of my favorite games to play. So I was like, huh. If this is made by the Sonic team, it can't be that bad. This is before Sonic started to get a little bad, okay? Hear me out, everybody, okay? But I was a kid at the time, so I grabbed it. I said, Mom, can we get this? She looked at the price. I go, my grades have been good. She's like, yes, okay. And it was used, so she's like definitely down for it, because if I don't like it, she can bring it back. That's the rules with Funko Land. So I booted it up instantly, like saw the first cinematic. I was like, oh, this game's great. I was like, this
Sonic
is
team
it.
being able to make games that aren't Sonic games that are amazing, and then they never make those games again.
Billy Hatcher.
Thank you, because that's where I was going with it. That's exactly where I was going with it. I'm so happy that you know Billy Hatcher. I'm so happy.
I know the whole song from the commercial. Lights off in the world, and who saved the day? Get your rooster suit on and roll your egg this way.
Oh, wow.
Billy Hatcher, the right around. Billy Hatcher, lights on.
Because that's not even in the game. That's the promo
No, that's the
jingle.
commercial.
That's the commercial song. Because I know, the GIANTEGG and check this charm, you'll feel so good. But I don't know the commercial song.
Yeah,
that's a whole other level. You beat me.
I love Billy Hatcher. Like, that was a great game. Because I love Katamari Damacy. So it was like a little bit of Katamari Damacy in there. So I was like, oh, this is crack. Yeah, I was like, this is what I like. I like this
soundtrack
stuff.
in that game. So good. So good.
Yeah.
And I know it sold poorly. I'm not surprised they never made another. I understand why they never played another. I have this short list of games that I would love to see remade, get a sequel, or even just a port.
Yeah.
I would love to just see a port of Billy Hatcher to Switch Virtual Console or something. Just add it to Nintendo Online subscription plus whatever it is. And so more people can play it, because it was such a good game that
it really was.
It was a little rough around the edges. Some of the controls were a bit touchy, but it was still really solid. And
I agree.
It didn't really land, but I feel like it's been able to accumulate a cult following nowadays, and that I will always sing its praises. And it would be so nice, but I do not expect that we will ever get that one. That on the list of things that I would like to see, that's pretty much near the bottom of, okay, I accept that this will not likely ever happen.
I mean, Sega said in their recent trailer,
that's true. They did just announce this past week.
And more. They did say and more for old games. So I mean, the rumor,
Tiffany,
one of the biggest rumors was Skies of Arcadia is getting a remake, and I hope it is true, because if it does, I will be throwing. I don't care if it's a collector's edition that's worth $1,000. I will be throwing money at that screen so fast.
That as of time of broadcast, it's just a bit less than a week after the Game Awards 2023, and that Sega had a big announcement where they announced it was 5 or 6 old franchises coming back. They're redoing the big one that I think turned the most heads, and I certainly know that people that I know and past guests were just over the moon about that. They're doing Jet Set Radio, but they're also doing Crazy Taxi. I'm blanking on a couple of the others, but it was a whole slate of games.
Shinobi, Golden Axe, Streets of Rage.
And I hadn't even thought of it, because I always think of it as Sonic Team, not Sega, but obviously Sonic Team is Sega. And Tiffany, don't do that. Don't give me hope.
Understand the concept of love. I love a lot of Sega. I grew up with Sega.
If they brought back Billy Hatcher, gosh, now I'm thinking maybe it is realistic. Oh no! I
don't see why they can't. There's so many cult classes that didn't sell well. Jet Set Radio didn't sell well. Crazy Taxi didn't sell well on console. It was better on arcade. Some of the Shinobi games definitely didn't sell well, especially the PS2 one. And Golden Axe was more of a favorable game in arcade. I don't see why not. They can't bring another game I want them to bring back, and it's not even freaking Sega, it's Power Stone. I've been as a Capcom creator, I've been secretly posting in chat, bring back Power Stone, please.
I'm not familiar with Power Stone.
Okay. So Power Stone is a game that was on Dreamcast, and it's a 4-player fighting game, arena kind of fighting game. And it was kind of like Smash Brothers in a sense, because they had special power-ups that you can use, and there was knockouts. It was so good. It was so good that Capcom made a second one, and I was just like, okay, we may be able to get another Power Stone. We haven't gotten another Power Stone since the Dreamcast version, and I beg of you, Capcom. I know I'm a Capcom creator, and I know I don't have power or sway, but if you guys were to make a Power Stone, they're resurrecting a lot of their old titles, and I really want them to resurrect Power Stone. It had an anime opening and everything. It was great. It's great. There's a video about it recently that someone released. It's called Power Stone: The Story of a Dreamcast Classic. It's phenomenal. It tells you
Mm.
like the history of Power Stone. It's no longer than 20 minutes. I highly recommend it if like you even want to think about what Power Stone is like. But the cast of characters were just so interesting. Some a little bit can't be done today because they're kind of racist. But
Well,
I
that's
think
why they need to not do a remake or a port, that you just do
no,
a
they can just
sequel and you
yeah.
write it with more modern sensibilities.
I think this is the game. I think it's Power Stone that may have questionable characters. I'm trying to remember. It's one game that I play. Yes, it is Power Stone. They will have to rework another character. But you know what? A lot of fighting game companies have done that, like Mortal Kombat, for instance. Mortal Kombat has done that, and being an indigenous person myself, I'm Afro-Indigenous. There was a character named wait, what's his name? Wait, I can't. Nightwolf, and he's always been like the stereotype of an indigenous
Mm.
character. But like now you have like companies like NetherRealm and the Killer Instinct, Rare with Killer Instinct, that are actually getting consultation from indigenous tribes of how to write this indigenous character right, and how to do it right. So it makes me have hope for future characters that were kind of used in a really terrible way. That if like Capcom wanted to bring them back, consulting with an indigenous tribe and be like, yeah, no, this is how the character can be, that you can properly represent them and not be offensive.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong, I love Capcom, but that is like, I will talk about my heritage, as being my father, my grandmother was very, very protective of their heritage, and as someone in the next generation, I should be too. So that's one of the big things that you know I would like to see with remakes and stuff. And I've noticed that they've been doing that. They've been taking a character that has been problematic, um or very stereotypic, or even like not with the times, and just like remaking them in a more positive sense. A lot of people don't like that, but we're in a different time period where would you rather the game fail?
Mm-hmm. And
Would you
that's also
rather
why
the
I say,
game
okay, well, there's your perfect excuse to just make
mm-hmm.
a new one, make a
Mm-hmm.
sequel, spiritual successor, or just, okay, we're going to tell a different story in this
Mm-hmm.
universe, and that you don't need to bother touching the old material. That yes,
Yeah.
that happened, and the sensibilities then were not what sensibilities now are, and that's fine. And that just, I think that's probably the cleaner way, because then you're not having to tamper with the old stuff. You don't need to worry about upsetting those folks who hold it particularly near and dear, problems and all, and that you're able to still use that world. And that, okay, maybe you pull
Yeah.
in some of all these other characters. Doesn't mean you need to pull in every character.
Yeah, like I think in the recent iteration of Street Fighter 6, they didn't bring back T-Hawk, but they brought back like I don't remember if she's like a relative, but her design is actually really like they actually did their homework. So like it's not
There you
something they
go.
can't do. It's not something they can't do, but like I'm glad that more companies are doing it, because the 80s and 90s were a completely different breed.
Mm-hmm.
And now that it's like more diversity, it's very important to show that properly. Especially if these companies want to like have different people play their games and actually be accessible for all. So that's one of those things that I talk about sometimes and be like, yeah, I love this game, but there's some characters that are even Skies of Arcadia has like its own faults with characters. Even though it wasn't portrayed in an offensive sense, there's an indigenous like place you go to that has, I don't want to spoil anything, that has like
It's
object.
it's more than 10 years old at this point. I
Okay,
think the statute
so
of limitations for spoilers has passed.
okay, so basically you have to go to this place to retrieve an item, and there's like a tribe of people. They're not stereotyped, but I think they could have been done a little bit better. But it's not as offensive as some other games I've seen.
Mm.
boy, oh boy, have I seen some stuff with, indigenous black or even Asian characters, betrayal
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But yeah, we're getting much better, and that makes me
Hmm.
very happy growing up because now my kid, who is indigenous black, and he can actually enjoy stuff and characters like him. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. And it doesn't have to be because people are like, oh, it's woke culture. No, it's just doing the characters right. It's doing. Would you would you want a
Yeah,
British
it's
person to be just sitting there on a corner with like a knife in hand and tea and saying, "Oh, would you like a bottle of water?" No, that's not representation properly of Britons. So like, don't complain. It was people like, yeah, no, this represents my people well, and that's good,
yeah,
and that's the prime example I give. Is like it's not a woke culture thing. It's just like
just
it's getting it
give
right.
and giving people depth.
Yes, giving people
Yeah.
depth and like so they
Yeah.
can see themselves.
Hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Speaking of
Like I.
characters and
Mhm,
representation creation, that when it comes to
mhm,
RPGs, when you are faced with a character creator, whether it be in
mhm.
World of Warcraft or even if it's tabletop RPG, do you
Yeah.
have a method that you usually use to approach character creation? For example, I'm really uncreative when it comes to character creation. I've just never been the type to go in saying, okay, I know I want to use this type of magic,
Mhm.
I want to have this type of storyline. That when it comes to tabletop, I let everyone else in the party choose first. I
Yeah.
then pick a class and a playstyle that covers whatever needs the party has. That, okay, we need a healer, so I use that, and then sort of weave in things from there. And when it comes to other games where I'm not playing with others, I usually will look around and see, okay, what type of combat seems like what I'm in the mood for, but then I start tailoring things to those ends.
Mhm.
But I know other folks that will sit down at a table and know, all right, I want to make a sorcerer, sword wielder, and that they know exactly what they want, and they
Yeah.
then look for the different things that meet their vision. So for
Yeah.
you, how do you create your characters?
I am not a melee person. I don't do rogue or paladin. Well, I do. I'll play a paladin. Like I've done mini Boulder Gate run now. I love playing bard. If
Mm.
there's a bard in the game, I'm gonna play it. I will make songs. Y'all gonna have to deal with it. Um, I like to play like more range characters, I guess. My mains in World of Warcraft is like a shadow priest, a mage, a hunter. So those are like my range characters. I rarely play melee. Only melee character that I actually play that's outside of roleplay is my monk, because monks are fun. Especially if you are DPS monk, I just love just kicking and punching and stuff like that. It's just I love the animation of it. It really will depend. Like it depends. Sometimes it does depend on the situation. Like for tabletop, if there is something that needs to be filled, because if I'm going to go on a long journey, I want to at least make sure we're balanced.
Yeah.
I'll try to fill it the best way I can, but I'll be like, I don't do warrior well. Uh, I'm not much of a fighter, but I can be a spellcaster, a healer, or I can be your humble bard on your journey, or even a ranger. So I am a little picky, but I'm not picky enough that I won't be able to learn something new. Like if someone was like, "Oh, but we need a warrior," I was like, "Okay, I'll try warrior.
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it. Let's go for it." I'm not gonna like it, but I may come to love it.
That's really where I've found myself recently, that for me being a reactionary character builder,
Mhm.
that understandably most folks usually go for high damage or something that is going to be traditionally strong. And
Right.
bards are not traditionally
No,
strong.
we're not. No, we're
And
not.
so I have historically fallen into either bard or cleric roles, just because, being a healer, unless that's really your style,
Yeah.
is it's not what people usually gravitate towards. And that's fine with me, that I've always been able to pick up those classes and find ways to create a character that I really enjoy and have a lot of fun anyways. But then it finally came time that we had this one campaign where everyone was a magic user and
Yep.
we needed a tank. And okay, I guess I'm going to make my first barbarian now. And I think it was a Goliath that I went with and did all these different things. But because I had years and years of being a bard and cleric, I had this habit of, all right, combat starts, I'm going to be on the back lines, I'm going to stay out of the way and prepare to help folks.
Yeah.
And it took me one combat to realize, oh, wait a minute, no. My job is to actually be the one to run into harm's way now. And it was such a foreign concept for me that it took just a moment to actually get into that. And now it's something I'm able to do very easily. But it was such a pivot for me.
I can imagine, like, because, like, when you're not used to a role, it takes some time to get used to a role. And, like I said, I don't mind feeling. It's just that I don't do it. I don't usually fill those roles. And, like when I play League of Legends, for instance, I usually play either mid, support, or sometimes ADC, which is basically range DPS. I rarely do top or jungle because, one, I hate the idea of me jungling. And if for those who don't know what jungling means, it means that there's 3 different lanes in normal League of Legends. There's the top lane, which is mostly a bruiser or something out of the ordinary, just fighting at top with somebody else.
Very tanky up top, usually.
Yeah. Then there's the mid, which is more the spellcasters, or basically the chess game, as I like to call it, is the mid. Then it's the bot lane, which sometimes switch it with the top, which is mostly a support character with a range DPS. And then there's jungle, and jungle's job is by far, in my opinion, the hardest job in League of Legends, because you have to do something called ganking. And if you don't gank a lane properly, and you don't get enough levels from the jungle from killing jungle creeps, you're gonna fall off really fast. And a lot of times, junglers get blamed for a losing game.
Yeah,
And
I've never really been super deep into League of Legends. That I watched the games, that I kept up with LCS from season 4 through 7, just very casually. That the analogy I always use is I watch like a casual American football viewer. That I know what a quarterback is, I know what a field goal is, I know what a touchdown is, I know what the top, middle, and bottom lanes are, I know what towers are, I know what the nexus is. Don't ask me who the fullback is or what a screenplay is. Don't ask me anything about warding or something too specific about the jungle creeps. I know what the Baron and the Dragon are, but I have no idea about the specific other ones roaming around. But I can definitely tell, even as a casual observer, that the jungle role is the one that has the most improvisation, I suppose, that you need to be the most actively adaptive to whatever is going on, and that if you don't, like you said, that you will fall behind, and as a result your team will fall behind.
100%. Yep. It's one of the most pressurized, I guess that's the term to use. It's a lot of pressure to be a jungler, and for me, I'd rather take mid than jungle any day. Because I tried jungle once and I'm like, this is not my thing at all. And it's just so much pressure because you have to it's like there's no chance like for a break, really. You just have to keep going around the jungle, getting your creeps, ganking lanes, hopefully having a successful gank and not giving them a kill. Maybe take some minion tax from the lane and then go about back into the jungle and stuff like that. It's more, in my opinion, it's more chaotic. Because sometimes the enemy jungler can steal from your jungle. They can just come into your section and be like, this is mine, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, that if you leave things unattended, that it's one of the things, since there's so much cover in the jungle, as one would expect, given the name, that you need to be paying attention, because if you get too distracted on something, or if you spend too long going into a lane supporting one of your other teammates, that the other jungler can go in and just harvest a whole bunch of XP, and it will be very difficult to catch up.
It's very difficult. Like we watched the newest World's Finals, which had Telecom
Yeah,
with
T1,
Faker.
I think it's called now. I
Yeah,
forget what it is.
T1.
I
It
just
used to
know
be
that
called
Faker
SKT
won again.
Telecom. Yes, good for Faker. I was really happy for Faker.
He is the LeBron James of League of
He's a
Legends.
goat. He's the goat of League of Legends, and there's a reason why he's in a lot of the videos and stuff. But their jungler literally was like roaming that jungle, saying, "This is mine. You can't have this." They like it was 3-0. They dominated. Um, it was wild watching that LCS because like Faker's one of those people who like you think he's conceited, and he actually fully admitted. He goes, "Yeah, the last championship was for me. This one's for my team." And I was like, "I want him to win." Last year, we thought he was gonna win, but that wasn't his year because that story is phenomenal. The story from last year, the team that won last year, the leader, he went to school with.
Oh, wow.
They went to the same school, and this guy, their team was at the bottom, literally at the bottom, and they just rose up quickly in the worlds. And the song was a Lil Nas X Star Walking, and everyone was like, "Man, is this gonna be Faker's year?" Because the lyrics for this year, it's wild because it's like, "Don't ever say it's over until when I'm breathing," and when the opposite team won. There's nothing in there. Sorry, my husband's taking food tag. No, it's okay. No.
Faker.
No, but I was I felt bad for Faker, but seeing the underdogs win was kind of great. But I was like, when this year happened, I was like, this is Faker's year. This is his 10th year in LCS. There's no way he's gonna let this lose. He literally walked in there saying, "This is my fucking house."
I remember seeing ads for it. Since I still follow the LCS accounts, even if I'm not a regular viewer anymore, that I see the headlines and that there was a quote from him: "All roads lead to me."
All roads lead to me.
Only he could say a line like that and have it be just
right
entirely badass. And you see that, and he's not being conceited or egotistical. If you look at the history of competitive League of Legends, he uniquely is able to say that, and it is the truth.
He's just that good, and he works really hard, and like he's kind of an inspiration of like what it looks like to work hard and achieve your goals. And that's why I appreciate about Faker. Like I really did feel like last year was not his year to win. It wasn't his destiny. But like when it was on his 10th year, and his first year he won, his 10th year he won, I think it was so fitting. It was such like a great story. And if he's not retiring, because he's like, his streams are actually really funny too. Like his streams are really hilarious. Someone was like, they sent him money and they go like, what would you do if you were a millionaire? And he was like, "I'm already a millionaire. I'd be playing games." And then he just continued playing games. If you watch his streams, he'll play a game and be in League of Legends at the same time. He was playing Little Nightmares 2 and League at the same time.
God.
This man is built differently.
He's multitasking at this point.
He is built differently, and he was like, and it's kind of interesting to see the humanity in him, because he was doing stuff in Little Nightmares 2 that I would be like, that was kind of a dumb thing to do. And then I was like, that means he's not perfect. And I like that. He's not this like genius at all games. He's just a genius at League.
And it's not even necessarily that he is an unnatural genius. He's spent 10 years on it. The time investment. But what I'm very curious to see is just where he goes from here. Because in traditional sports, you have aging and deterioration, and just if you get past a certain age, obviously there are a couple exceptions that in certain sports you're just naturally going to see a decline in your athletic prowess. And yes, I suppose that as you age, technically your reaction speed when clicking a mouse might deteriorate by a fraction of a second. I know fraction of a seconds matter in this, but
yeah, it does.
Not,
it really does.
But at the same time, I'm not convinced that if you are a high enough level player just in your strategy, and that if you are keeping up with the meta at all times, that I do not think that fraction of a second is actually going to cause someone's career to collapse in the way that natural body aging will prevent someone from playing basketball past age 50.
100%. I feel the same way but you do seem like in esports, you do see younger people retire from it.
But that the story of esports as we know it is still so short, and that how many of those cases are people who are just falling out of love with the game or moving on in their lives. They go to university or they get other jobs that are more sustainable, frankly, and that for people like Faker, that he doesn't have to. And even if he has some level of deterioration, that if he is able to just keep up with the meta and competitive and go from being god tier to very high tier, oh no, that he could stick around for conceivably another decade or two if he wanted, assuming that he stays in good health. But then there's going to be the question of, would he ever want to step back to do coaching, to be an analyst, to work at Riot as an advisor for the development of the game, or just as an outside observer who doesn't watch regularly, I have to guess he's probably just very driven by competition, which makes me think, okay, is he just in this for the long haul? Because he could be, and while there's not necessarily a precedent for it, I can't think of anything that would actually truly stop him if he wanted to keep going.
I don't think so either, because like I said, he's one of those people that is super determined. Like, he's a really determined person. I was saying this on stream. If I had literally like a 1% of his determination, I'd be a menace. I'd be a damn menace in the community if I had like literally 1% of his determination. And I think that's, like I said, I think that's why I admire by him, because I've been watching him from the beginning. I've been watching LCS from the beginning, and it's one of those things where, like, when you see someone really succeed, it's kind of like, man, that's so inspiring. That's some inspiring shit right there. Like, I wanna know, like, and I can see him as a coach, or at least like maybe a owner, the future owner of T1 or something like that. I could see him owning his own team. I could see him working for Riot, because that's the thing, because like a lot of players do end up working for Riot. We just had one of the shoutcasters is now doing a full-time job as the LCS coordinator, which is amazing, because basically he's in charge of coordinating all of the LCS. So he went from
having been on the other side of the equation for so long, they know what goes into it. They know where the pain points historically have been for the players, for the quote-unquote customers of that particular department. So he's going to have, I would think, just better knowledge and understanding of, all right, even if he didn't know going in what's the back end of it, he knows what the end result ideally should be better than anyone else, and might actually have better insight than a traditionally trained and educated event planner.
Right. Yeah, and like I've always wanted to work for Riot, honestly, but it's moving. We'll be moving all the way from like Canada all the way down to California. That'd be wild. That'd be a hell of a move. But I've worked with Riot with like cosplaying events, holding like gatherings and stuff like that. I've done a lot of Riot cosplays. Actually, it's kind of wild, because like one of the people I've cosplayed with ended up working for Riot, and she hooks me up. So like, it's not something that's not in the cards personally for me. It's just like right now I'm in the stage of, what do I really want to do? And I have so many things that I can do right now, because I do game reviews for accessibility, and I do voice acting, and I do streaming, and I do VTubing and content creating. I'm sitting at a point in my life where I'm just like, I have so many things I can do, but what do I want to settle to do? And I'm part of an esports team. I'm an official VTuber for an esports team. So like, it's so much that I think about personally, for my future, and it's a lot that goes through my mind. almost every day, like, what do I want to end up doing? Or do I just want to like keep doing content creating and hopefully retire at, an age where I can just live comfortably while my son makes video games for the rest of his life? So like it's one of those things where like I said, if I had a fraction of his motivation, I'd probably be a menace. I'd be a little gremlin menace.
I think you already have a couple percentage points of what Faker has. You're already quite a menace. We've gone over all the stuff you're already doing, and obviously I've been burying the lead the entire time of all the charity work. You mentioned over 75 organizations, and that this year, to put it bluntly, Tiffany, you've been through the ringer this year. It's been a tough year for you. And I think that you are looking forward to a bit of a fresh start in 2024.
I am.
And that even so, you've still done so much charity work, beginning with the Game On to End Lupus in May of 2018, and that things have rolled on from there. And you've mentioned that you've had direct contact with folks at Tiltify, and that you've helped them sort of iterate and craft on their own platform. I used Tiltify for my first annual charity marathon. I used Stream Elements, I believe, last year because Tiltify takes a 5% cut, which is a totally reasonable amount. Stream Elements takes none, and then sort of the cost there is the functionality on Stream Elements is not quite as robust as what Tiltify has. And just for what I do and what I run, I don't necessarily need all the bells and whistles that Tiltify offers. So I felt it was a good trade-off for that 5%, but that obviously both are very respectable and good platforms, and that depending on your particular needs, that I can very much understand. I've advised certain folks that, like, okay, for what you need and what you want to do, you should absolutely go to Tiltify. Don't use Stream Elements. Their tools are a bit too lean for your vision. Go with that one. Or opposite of, okay, if you're doing a more simple operation, maybe go with the Stream Elements and take the extra 5% for the charity. And it's good that there are these...
Streamlabs. You mean Streamlabs.
Streamlabs, yes, thank you.
Yeah, I was like, wait, Stream Elements doesn't do charity. Wait a minute, hold on. I was like, my brain wasn't clicking fast. I was like, I don't think it's Stream Elements. I think it's Streamlabs that does charity.
Yes.
Yeah, it's Streamlabs.
Wrong stream.
Yeah, it's okay.
But that it's good that we have these multiple platforms in the marketplace, so to speak, and that you get those options. Is there a particular piece of functionality on Tiltify that you feel is underutilized?
I think so. There's so much. I think the overlay is not utilized enough to the fullest potential. So Tiltify has this amazing overlay system. I just realized my VTuber looks so tired. I'm not tired at all. It's just my eyes are naturally... I have rheumatoid arthritis and lupus, so I always naturally look tired. I'm so sorry if I look tired for this interview. I'm not.
You're fine. Don't worry.
I just want to let you all know that I am not tired. The overlay is one of those things in Tiltify that I personally don't feel like is utilized completely, because the overlay provides everything that you need. It provides the alert, it provides the bar, and it provides some other fun things that you can add to it that, like, if you want to do like an exercise goal, like every time someone donates $25, you do a push-up or something like that. It has those kind of functions that people do not utilize to the fullest. And I think the overlay is very, very, very underutilized in a lot of streams. But I understand why, because there's so much added to it that you can add to it. It can be overwhelming, and I fully get that. But I think people should like take the time to actually look at fully everything that the overlay can do, because it can save you so much time. Even putting the alert there, a completely different alert that is, so you don't have to go through like Stream Elements or Streamlabs to set up or anything like that. You could just do it through the Tiltify thing, and it works just fine. And like, Tiltify is always improving.
Yeah.
Tiltify is always adding things. They now have the auction system, which I'm going to use for my charity stream next year. My big charity stream, Vtubers for Hope. We're going to auction off some amazing stuff, and I'm very excited to auction off this stuff because some of it's going to be like really, really interesting stuff. So it's like one of those things where Tiltify is always growing and improving compared to other charity things. And yes, Tiltify has to take a cut. I understand why.
Well,
you gotta have that.
Because
the
they're
upkeep.
running and upkeep, and like you said, that all this functionality, developers need to be paid. That I have no problem. I think 5% is entirely reasonable
Yes.
And like I said, the only reason that I moved away from it was just because for the way that I run mine, I didn't need the bells and whistles. So, but like I said, I know others that do. And when I had my first marathon and used Tiltify, I did use the overlay. And moving away from it, I did have to just use a bunch of separate assets. And it wasn't too much that it was not ridiculous, but for certain folks who are going to have more elaborate setups, that 5% to be able to actually just run with the overlay, that it was a very clean system. And that essentially what you do is you build on the Tiltify website this screen that will have all these different elements, and like you're saying, you build it out on there, and then when you go to OBS, that it is just a single browser source, and you just fit it to your screen and plop, it's right there.
It's really simple. It's really simple, and it's really easy, and like anyone can do it. Like honestly, anyone can do it. It's like I said, it's not for everyone. Sometimes it can be overwhelming, and I fully understand it. I fully get that 100%. But like it's one of those things I do feel like it is underutilized, and I love it. I love Tiltify, and it's one of my favorite charities. I haven't tried the Twitch one, even though I've been tempted a few times to try the Twitch one.
So Twitch is good in that it's obviously direct integration, and that it's going to be one click, in that in general, this is something that is very common knowledge for anything involved with internet marketing or sales or funnels or anything of that sort. The number of clicks that it takes to accomplish something, the drop-off of participation is exponential. That one click to 3 clicks, you are going to give up probably 60% of folks, just statistically, that will click through on certain things. And Twitch's biggest thing is that it is just a one-click system, and especially if they already have their payment info in from gift subs and whatnot, they don't need to register. It's all set, and it's very easy.
It is very easy.
But they have no tools at all.
No, that's the problem. There's exactly
nothing.
the problem.
There is zero. There's no overlay. There's no notification. That you get the notification in the chat, but you can't hook it up to any sort of redeem. You can't have it hooked up to any sort of overlay. You have the bar that appears in the web page, but it doesn't do anything on the stream. And Twitch takes 0% as well, and that's good. But just like I said, I moved away from Tiltify because I don't have many bells and whistles. I do have a couple. I have a non-zero mount, and so I looked at the Twitch one and was like, I can't do that, because for what I want to do, I need a couple of things. And if Twitch can just get a couple things on there, or if they can let you integrate your Tiltify or whatever other things into their system, I want that one-click functionality. It's so nice, but they have zero functionality.
It's wild because Twitch does have an alert system now. They do have like this new alert system, and
they're building up this infrastructure, and I'm waiting for them to connect them.
Yeah, that's what I think a lot of people are fully waiting for. I think they may have already done something like that. I'm not 100% sure. I do have insight to Twitch. I may have to like start.
I'm gonna need to keep an eye on it, because I am in the process of doing the full planning for my 3rd anniversary charity marathon, because that is going to be January 13th and 14th, so almost a month away to the day. I was actually just working on the sort of back-end infrastructure, quote-unquote, of I have a spreadsheet of all the folks that I'm inviting, and sort of a checkbox system of, okay, they've been sent the invitation, they have responded. If they haven't responded, I've sent the follow-up. They're scheduled, they're in the server, yada yada. And that actually, really, in the next couple days, probably before the end of this week, I'm going to start sending out information to folks. So this is kind of my own kickoff for my annual charity event. And so all this is really top of mind for me right now. And so I probably do need to take a couple minutes and glance back at Twitch and see, okay, have they quietly put in functionality? Did it get buried amongst other announcements somehow?
Because they just did a big charity thing. So I don't see why not. It just feels like they would have something implemented.
I don't think they have. I'm gonna double check, just because it should only take a couple minutes to do the digging. But from what I have seen at least, they still don't have functionality, but you are absolutely correct that since they just introduced certain integrations, that I very much see them, that's them building the infrastructure, and that the next step will probably be, I would guess, in the next 6 to 12 months, that you'll see them getting connected.
Yeah, I can see Twitch doing something like that. I can see Twitch doing something like that for sure. I just hope that, or how can I say this without sounding offensive? I just hope that, like, because I think the new CEO is kind of great. I like him a lot. I was just talking about this during my stream. I think the new CEO is great. I think
Dan Clancy.
I think Dan wants the best for Twitch. I feel like he wants the best. I really feel like he wants the best for the platform. But like I'm hoping that he starts addressing those little things about the charity, and hopefully things get worked out, because I would like to try Twitch's version of it.
Yeah.
I've been doing supervised Streamlabs. Unfortunately, I did what's it called? They're no longer a thing. They renamed themselves.
Soft giving?
Yeah, them.
Yeah, that was an unfortunate thing, because for those who aren't aware, very long story short about soft giving was that they had a thing where they would reach out to content creators, and that they would pay content creators to run charity events. And they would have these existing agreements with different charities, and that on the back end, soft giving would take 50% of the donations in order to facilitate all this. And in a way, I don't think that is inherently a problem, because if you're getting people who wouldn't have otherwise done charity events to do charity events, $1 more to the charity than they would have otherwise gotten is an improvement. So the fact that they took 50% in and of itself isn't a problem. The problem was the messaging, and the fact that there was this 50% cut was obfuscated because it was only being done with the charity on the back end. And I genuinely believe that there was no ill intent from soft giving, but when people found out through the grapevine, sort of somebody came forward with a contract and said, hey, wait a minute, I thought all my money was going to the charity, and I now find out 50% is going to soft giving.
Yep.
PR explosion. And that because it wasn't upfront, it was, that's exactly the whole thing collapsed.
Yep. I felt terrible because they were like, yeah, because like I took a workshop about being content creator, and I asked the question to I'm not gonna name the person. They're a big content creator, really big content creator, and we had the honor of being in a workshop with them and learning more from them. And I go, hi, I have a question. What do you think about paid charity? Doing charity but getting paid. And they were like, oh, there's nothing wrong with that. You're doing your time, and you got to think about charity, not only of you raising the money, but the production that you're putting into the charity.
Yeah.
And I didn't think about it like that. I said, okay, cool. So when I did the soft giving thing, it was just a small cut. I think it was like $100 for like 4 hours of my time.
Yeah.
And I didn't mind that.
Soft giving did
small pay.
They had, and sort of flat fees that they didn't, I don't think, do a percentage cut, and that people knew, it was publicly known that, all right, the content creators were getting paid to run these charity events, and that obviously that money does have to come from somewhere.
And I had the idea that, it was coming maybe from the company, because when I read the contract, it didn't say anything about the 50% cut.
Yeah.
When I found that news out, I was so sick to my damn stomach, because I was like, so what you're telling me is you paid me to raise money for you to take 50%?
And like
from
I said,
the
I think
charity.
it's all about the messaging, because I think if they had been upfront, and I don't even think they were consciously trying to trick people. I think that just from a business perspective, they were like, okay, this is the arrangement with the content creator. This is the arrangement with the charity. It's two separate organizations. They have their separate contracts. And in the end, it is still a net benefit that even if we are taking this 50%, that this is money that you would assume wouldn't have been raised to begin with for the charity. So the charities didn't mind There was a reason that they took these contracts. They were not being strong-armed into these things. There's plenty of organizations charities can work for, and they chose to work with Soft Giving, understanding the contract. That was their choice. But then on the other side, like I said, I don't think it was meant to be hidden maliciously. I think they just, from a business standpoint, were like, well, one contract for one for the other. We're not trying to hide it. It's just that information is not... They didn't think that information was relevant for the content creators, and the content creators felt that information was relevant. And that disconnect was what broke everything.
Yep. It sucks when you, like... It's just, I don't know. It's just a whole mess, and now they've rebranded as a different company.
Yeah, and essentially a attempt to salvage things, and problem is, at that point, the trust is broken. And that it's unfortunate, because like I said, I think that if things had been communicated better, that things wouldn't have gone the way they did.
Yeah, I think that 100%, because, like, for me, charity means a lot to me, and raising money for these organizations means so much to me. And then when that happened, it was just like... Yeah,
because then if you're presented with it, that you can at least say, okay, I understand that 50% is going there, and I can communicate that to my community, and that everyone will understand that, and it's all above board. And, okay, if I don't think that is efficient, and that I would rather use a platform where a higher percentage is going to the charity, I can make that choice.
Yep.
But, to each their own, no harm, whatever, that I appreciate you letting me know that this is how your system works. And it's sad, because there is good that they did.
Yeah, there is good that they've done, but if I knew it was 50%, I wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, exactly.
I probably would have just went with something else. And that's why I was like, people are like, oh, is there a charity you'll never work with? Soft Giving. And the way they do their, like, marketing and pursuing people is kind of disgusting. And, like, they're like, I've had so many, like, DMs of, like, pressuring me. It's like, when you do this charity, you need to raise as much money as possible. I was like, it's not about that. You're doing your best.
Heard some rumblings of also back-end partner management, shall we say, and that it wasn't ideal. So, but yes, there are many other very good platforms and organizations to work with. Tiltify, Streamlabs, Twitch. That Twitch takes 0%, and that I'm glad that they haven't. That certainly, for folks that are just trying to do something simple that aren't necessarily looking to have a production, it's awesome, because it is so easy to set up that it's not going to give you bells and whistles, but it's like 5 clicks to set it up. Because I looked at the back end just to see, okay, if I were to do this, what would it take? And a minute, 2 minutes max to set up. You enter in a search box, what's the organization that you're raising for, click, what's your goal, click, and then boom, it is directly integrated into your chat, and that it is undoubtedly the easiest and most frictionless method.
Frictionless is the best word for that, yes.
If you've done marketing and business stuff, that it is a frictionless method because you're already in there, and that the payment method is likely to be already connected, and that's great. That, heck, I've been considering even for the third marathon of maybe I just do multiple. Maybe I have it set up on Twitch and one on Streamlabs. Whatever, that if I set up the bells and whistles there, and then I have it here of just, okay, if this is easier for you and you prefer to do it, both are 0% take platforms, so that's fine there. And if it's just easier for someone, if that gets more donations for my event, I'll figure out some workaround that of just, the tracker bar and whatnot becomes the tricky part. Because then if I get $500 via Twitch, $500 via Streamlabs, that the thing's going to say 500, not 1,000. So I need to figure out how would I operate things. Do I just forego the automated bar and have a text element in OBS that I just manually update? That's a bit more work. And when I'm already running an event, that's mental bandwidth that I don't necessarily want to do, but if it's getting me a lot more donations for the charity, maybe I put up with it. It's a choice I'll have to make.
It's definitely a choice you're gonna. I 100% agree, but I always say go with what you feel more comfortable with.
Yeah. For you, do you have anything in your own setup that you found to be particularly useful or fit for your style?
Oh my gosh. I guess like when I set up a charity, I always think about like, what do I do, the goals and stuff like that. And I just keep it really, I always like am telling people when you're planning a charity, plan ahead of time, like way ahead of time. I would say that as I roll my eyes because I've taught people this and they were like, thank you for telling me that because I was so prepared for this. I'm like, yes, that's what we want. We want you to be prepared. That's what I want you to be, is prepared so that you can be fully into this, have your mind in the game and stuff like that. It's been so much it's a mental thing for me to like fully get into it and then like fully try to raise that, that fund. Like I just did what did I just do? I just did Extra Life, and my goal was $500. I think we got up to $720. And I went into that. I was like, I'm gonna stream all day. That's what I say. I'm gonna stream all day. We're gonna have a fun, casual stream that happens to be about charity. We're gonna make it real fun. That was my I have to get in like a certain mental space, and I was because my dad just recently passed away, so my mental space wasn't fully into doing charity. And I always tell people, do not do charity when you're not fully in a good mental space. And I just decided instead of just doing the charity and like being super serious about it, I'm like, we're just gonna be having fun and talking about the charity at the same time. We're not gonna be like push. We're gonna be more like, hey, I'm doing a charity stream. You guys should check it out. It's for the Boston Children's Hospital and Extra Life. Please donate if you can. And that was that. It wasn't like how I usually do things, which is like more organized, more in depth, more this, that, and the other. It was more casual because my mental health wasn't fully in there. And I tell people when you're preparing, just make sure you have your mental health fully in there. Make sure you have your right incentives, your right goals that you want to do. Be safe. Don't do the chip challenge. Don't do that.
Yeah. If you know that you have a very high spice tolerance, if that's your thing, maybe. If you know that you don't, if you aren't very confident, be aware of what you're getting into. Like, very prolifically, one of my favorite stories to tell from the first anniversary charity marathon was I bought a box of Bean Boozled because I'd heard of, these are really disgusting, icky tasting beans. And I was like, okay, yeah, super easy. And I hadn't had them before, so I was like, okay, these are jelly beans. They're small. They're easy to eat. What's a good price? I don't know. 3 for $20. That sounds perfectly reasonable.
No!
3 for $20 seems fine. So, because I set up I set up this menu of at all times during the marathon. It's like $5 I'll say ooh, $20 I'll say $10 I'll do yada yada, and I try to like have something at each price point. And I made the $20 one 3 Bean Boozled beans. Just seems fine enough. And the $20 donations start rolling in, and I suddenly have this queue of about 30 beans. All right.
Oh, you poor thing! I feel so bad.
So I have the first bean, and oh no.
Mistakes were made.
I realize. Yep. I understand.
Oh yeah.
Why Bean Boozled advertises itself as it does. And like, okay, that was really disgusting. But that was one that 50% of these should be good. That should be fine. Those boxes are not 50-50.
No.
Those boxes are 70-30 at best.
It's 70. You're absolutely. It's 70. It's either 70-30 or 75-25.
Yeah, it's.
Someone was saying.
And that about a dozen beans in, my stomach starts to turn. And just you think volume-wise that I have not eaten a lot. I should not be getting full. I should not be getting queasy. I was getting queasy, and I had like 20 beans left in the queue. And
Oh,
I
God.
said, I need to stop eating these beans. We are 4 or 5 hours, we were like 3-ish hours into the stream, and it's 12 hours, 2 days, 24 hours total for the weekend. And I was like, I need to stop, because if I keep going with this, I will get sick or at minimum be having a very bad time, and the quality of this charity stream will suffer. So for anybody in chat who made those $20 donations, let's bargain right now. The beans are off the table. I'm removing them from that menu. Tell me something else silly that you want. If there's lower priced ones on that menu, you can staple them together that equal that $20, or just give me something that you want and I'll say yes or no. We can have a conversation here in real time. I want to make you feel like your donation got you something, even though I'm not going to do this. But I'm putting a hard stop on the Bean Boozled right here now because I can't. And
yeah, no, you gotta know your limits, and I always tell people, if you get the Bean Boozle, please put it at like one bean for $25.
Nope, I
like,
brought it back last year, and the whole joke was $200 for a bean, limit 1 per hour. That it's now the opposite end of the spectrum. It is a gag of just, all right, I was scarred by these beans. Do you wanna make me relive this? There's a story behind it, and that is why it is worth this absurdly high price at this point in time. And I had a couple people take me up on it. And
wow,
but
that's good,
at that point, that I wanted to set it aside of I don't ever want to even risk it again, which is why I also put the 1 per hour limit of just, I don't know if someone's going to come in and be crazy. I'm just being protective at this point.
Yeah, you never know. That's the awesome thing about charity. It's full of so many surprises. You never know who's going to drop by and drop that big-ass donut. I had, what's his name? Oh, God. Dr. Lupo. He dropped $5,000 on one of my charities once.
Holy shit.
Yep, he was part of the Tiltify Christmas thing. This was before I knew more about the Tiltify. No, Big Puffer wasn't charity. It was charity to me, but not to a charity. Dr. Lupo was part of that, and I guess my name was on the list, and he came in, dropped $5,000 when I was just like, I'm just gonna raise $100 today. I just randomly felt like doing a charity. I'm just gonna raise $100 today for a charity, because sometimes I do randomly feel like I want to be like, I want to raise money for a charity. And he was just like, here's $5,000, and I started crying like, wow, that's the biggest donation someone's ever dropped on one of my streams. And that was wild. It was I was like so confused because it was like a lot of people like following me randomly, and I'm like, chill. I thought I was getting hate rated.
Am I getting rated here?
Yeah, am I getting hate rated? So like, no, it was just Dr. Lupo dropping
I've seen interviews with Dr. Lupo. I have so much respect for that guy. He's so smart. Dr. Lupo.
He's very smart. He's a very smart man.
Scary smart guy.
And Tiltify, when my father died, they sent me a condolences gift. They sent me a gift card to Amazon, which was very nice. They know who I am. I was in, I don't know if I ever showed you this. I actually have the record of the top 5 most charities
Yes,
done.
I saw that picture that you were at, I think it was PAX.
Yeah. No, it was TwitchCon. TwitchCon. Yeah. I'm in the top 5 of most charities done on TwitchCon.
Yeah.
Yeah, here's the picture.
I think my biggest donation, I've gotten 2 $500 donations. One of them was particularly memorable. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Moriko Kyoho, Bat at Video Games. That I mentioned I have Uwu on my menu for a $5 thing, and she made this comment of, you do Uwus for $5? Like, absolutely not. Like, and I said, all right, Bat, what would it take for you to do an Uwu? And she was like, $500. It would take $500 for me to do an Uwu. Absolutely not. That's not something I'm doing. Lo and behold, less than 2 minutes later, $500 from one of her regulars. And there's a good clip. I will send it to you after the show, Tiffany. It is hilarious of just, I lost it, but she delivered, and she did an Uwu in a voice I have never heard from her before or since.
That's wild. That's
And
wild.
but just my goal for the first year was $1,000. I did not know what to expect. I figured I think $1,000 is realistic. But at the same time, if you don't get it, that's fine. That any amount raised for charity is a good amount. Charities are built off
Exactly.
of $5 and $10 donations. You do not
Yep.
need to be making $100, $500, $5,000 donations to make a difference. Things add up so quickly. And all right, $1,000 is a fine enough goal. And I wrote out
Mhm.
a couple of higher goals of just be prepared. What if something silly happens? And that I distinctly remember putting, all right, $10,000. I will call my parents and tell them about Vtuber Talk because they don't know about
Oh
Vtuber
God.
Talk.
Oh
Now,
no.
my parents are very supportive, and it's frankly
Good.
been more of a fun little game for me to keep this happy little secret from them, more than, oh, I think that they will think it's weird. I'm not worried about that at all. But just,
Hmm.
okay, that's a one-time gimmick. I can't bring that goal back every year, so it has to be a big one. So $10,000. We hit $1,000 after 6 hours, so one quarter of the way, and like, okay, cool. Well, I'm glad I have some of these other goals. I'm sure things will taper off by then, and it actually wound up being linear because we ended the first year at 4,000, and I think it was $35 or $50 somewhere around there, and just blew my mind. And last year we raised 7,500,
Oh
and
yeah.
so with the third anniversary around the corner, I am
You got
eyeing
this.
that $10,000 call my parents thing, and like I've basically been bracing since January of this year, since the second anniversary marathon ended, and we had 7,500. That I've just been sort of mentally preparing. Okay, there is a non-zero chance. There is a. I don't want to say it's a guarantee. I don't want to say it's very likely, but I would not be surprised if in 6 weeks my parents are aware of VTuber Talk.
I mean, I think you got this. I honestly
I
do.
would love to see it
You're
happen.
very
I would
passionate. You're
very
very
much love to see it happen, and I'm putting in extra work because 3 years feels like first year is a big thing, second year is cool, 3 is it's special. So got a lot of things in the works, and I'm going to be talking about it quite a bit in the coming month to sort of build the hype. But I'm actually going to get this image. Are there any particular events that obviously there's so many for you, and
Oh
that
my God. Yeah.
either a particular one you mentioned the Dr. Lupo one of okay that was a $5,000, but any
Yeah.
favorite moments or bits that you've done for charity for donations?
Um, I'm gonna start getting emotional thinking about this.
Oh, good.
Uh, so I did one for diabetes, and I'm sorry I'm rocking back and forth because I know I'm about to cry. Um, and the charity was over and done, and I was one of the top people that raised money. I got this letter in the mail, and it was from a 14-year-old girl who had type 1 diabetes. And she wrote it wasn't like a typed letter and she signed it. It was handwritten. A handwritten letter personally thanking me for all the money that I raised. And it was so heartwarming. And it was like, oh, okay. Okay, you got me.
And did you
It
read
was
this
like
live on stream or no?
I
Wait, no,
read
you
it
said this
live
was
on
after. Oh,
stream.
oh,
Yeah, I got the letter and I read it on stream, and I just like knowing that, you know, I got a direct letter to that, knowing that money is going towards. And she's like an ambassador for the JDS, I think. She's like an ambassador for it. She goes, that money's gonna help me so much. And I was like, fuck. And I've gotten personal letters from different organizations like the Lupus Foundation and Stacked, and I got a picture of Stacked of the money that I raised for the military, and a picture of the battalion that money went to. It's those things. It's those things that get me more emotional than raising the money, because when I have that connection, when that money is connected to the right person, I get emotional. I did a charity for Extra Life with AMD where I got to, and this memory will always stick with me. I got to play with a kid that money directly goes to, and we played
Mm.
Super Mario World on the Switch. And I had to be super like super PG, and he was a kid that at birth he was supposed to die. He was on dialysis starting at the age of 3. He had to get a kidney transplant at a very young age, but he was full of whew, he was full of so much life that it just did something to me. Like I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be playing with this kid that, you know, goes through so much. And like to know that that money went directly to helping kids like him. After I was done with the whole thing, because I was like all smiling, I had a good time. He played the game much better than I did. I got off and I said goodbye,
And then it just sort of
and
hits you like a ton of
it
bricks.
hit me like a brick, and I just like I slammed my head against my desk, and my husband walks in and is like, "Oh, poor baby," and I'm like crying. I'm like, "Oh, I couldn't." I was like, I'm so happy that I know what my work does. When I see the results of my work, when I see what the money goes to, it's the most rewarding feeling in the world
Mm-hmm.
because I know I'm helping people. And that's why I do it, because I know there's, even though I suffer from multiple chronic illnesses and I have like a very expensive medicine, sometimes I have to get infusions and chemo. I know that there's someone out there that can't get that help. And I know there's someone out there that needs that help. And when I get those letters, when I get those pictures or those interactions with people, it really makes it worth it.
Yeah, that
It doesn't matter how much I raise. It matters that I'm helping somebody.
yeah, it's one thing to see the number and it's one thing to see the impact. And while I've never had the opportunity to speak with a patient or interact with somebody who has directly benefited, um, I have been fortunate enough to have the executive director of the charity that I run my marathons for, which is Child's Play Charity, both
Mhm.
years, that I just sort of on a lark reached out because they have a public email and was like, I see you have a community manager listed. I've seen them on a couple other streams, and I'd love to have them on for a little bit to talk about Child's Play,
Yeah.
and if you're able to, that'd be great. And I get a response email back, and it's not from the community manager; it's from the executive director, the effective CEO, president of this organization, and he says, "The community manager is not going to be available, but I have time that weekend." And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh,
Mhm.
okay. So had them on the first year, had them on again last year, and also had Lane Blanc, who is a dear friend and the first guest I ever had on the show, and also someone who has had their own health struggles and
Yeah.
who is able to speak from a more experienced perspective with him about certain things. And just
Ugh.
the Child's Play is similar in a lot of ways to Extra Life and other gamer charities, but they were actually the first gaming charity that was brought into existence. I think it was it has to have been close to 20 years ago. I always forget exactly when it was. But that what they do that sets things apart for me, first off, are you familiar with the charity event Desert Bus for Hope?
No, I never heard of that. No, actually, I did hear that one. Never mind. I was like, wait, that one sounds familiar. Yeah, no, I know someone who did that one. Yeah, yeah, he raised a lot of money for that one.
Desert Bus for Hope is run by folks at a group called Loading Ready Run, which is actually a Canadian group as well.
Mhm.
And that they're usually a comedy group, but they have raised over $10 million as of this year
God.
over 17 events for Child's Play charity. And they do it playing the game Desert Bus, which is a mini game for the unreleased Penn and Teller's Smoke and Mirrors, which would have been for the Sega CD. And it is a game that the prolific comedians developed in direct answer to a comment by the U.S. Attorney General at the time, the classic, games cause violence, and they said, games should more accurately portray real life and prepare people for jobs in the real world. And they said, okay, sure, fine. So they made the most boring game they could possibly think of, where you drive from Tucson, Arizona to Las Vegas, Nevada in real time on a straight road. And just because you have to pay attention, the bus has a slight list to the right or to the left, and that if you aren't paying attention and you aren't steering actively, that you will go off the road and be towed back to the station in real time. The journey from Tucson to Las Vegas, capped at 45 miles an hour, because that's as fast as your bus will go, is 8 hours. For 8 hours, that is how long you have to be holding the A button and making sure that you don't steer off the road. And there are no other cars on the road. There are no passengers on your bus. You can stop at a bus stop briefly, open the doors, nobody will get on. If you're lucky, you might get a bug splat on your windshield for a little bit. But that's the game, and that they still play it, but it's sort of in the corner now. It is a whole sort of crazy 24-hour for about 7 days event, and it is a soul-cleansing experience for me to watch it every year, and that is what initially brought my attention to Child's Play. But that what they do, they even go beyond just, all right, they provide games that they have funded over 40 full-time game tech positions, because doctors and nurses are incredibly smart people. They have been trained for years and years for medical care, not for setting up an Xbox. And that there were so many cases of they would donate systems, and when they break, that they go in and figure out, all right, they were trying to hook up a PlayStation controller to an Xbox, or they weren't plugging this in right, or they don't know which games are good for which patients. So Extra Life will actually fund 2-year contracts for full-time employees that their job is to oversee this technology, make sure it gets implemented for the right patients, right types of games, but also to just sometimes be a player too, because doctors and nurses don't have time for that. But especially, if you're a kid in a hospital, that's really scary. And to have someone who can be there if your parents are at work or something, that it makes a big difference. And that they have 100% conversion rate of all of these 2-year positions have been picked up by the facility, because after 2 years, they understand the value and don't want to lose it. And as of this year, they've started their own in-house game development program too, specifically tailored for either therapy games or ones that are going to be accessible for kids in hospitals.
As someone who was a very sick kid, they had an N64 hooked up. It was the greatest day of my life. I had to have my appendix taken out at a very young age. They had the N64 there with like Ocarina of Time, Mario Kart, Star Fox, and stuff like that. And I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. When my son was very sick, my son got very sick, like very, very sick. We almost lost him. They had something like that for the Wii. And I was like, it was just such a breath of fresh air that there are these charities that want to make not only the kids' time a little more fun, but the parent a little less stress. And that's one of the reasons why I do raise money for like a lot of kid-friendly things like Extra Life or like Able Gamers, or like what's the other one? Gamers Outreach, I think is the other one.
They've been doing a lot of stuff, especially in the VTubing scene. They're the ones that ran the VTuber SummerSlam the past couple years, raising I think $80,000 year one, and it was like $220,000 or something. It was well into 6 figures this year.
I think I was a part of that this year. I'm not sure.
They had, I think it was over 100 VTubers that whoever's running their community outreach and whatnot is doing their job, because they got a lot of people on board.
That would be Zachary. I know exactly who it is. His name is Zachary. He's a sweetie. They have the VTuber one. Then they have the VTuber one. They have Spooktacular, Streamathon, Gamers for Giving, and then there's the Jolly. I know they have the Jolly Jamboree. That Jolly Jamboree is my favorite one, because it helps with kids with music. because that I think music is even it's just makes me happy they help because I like I said I've been in the children's hospital Washington DC. I was there for a lot of visits, some unknown reasons which we found out was related to lupus, and I probably had lupus for a very long time, but some like my appendix being taken out, I had to have emergency surgery on my stomach, um a lot of things that happened, and these charities have like really helped me keep sane because that money goes towards those concerts and stuff like that. I remember I was in the hospital for my birthday, and they had some person come in and entertain me on my birthday, even though I was supposed to go to the NSYNC concert that night. And I was getting my appendix taken out the night of the concert.
Oh.
But they with that money, it just goes towards so many things to help kids, especially the chronically ill. I've had, I guess, the honor of being next to someone when I was sharing a room who was chronically ill, and understanding that person and seeing it from the other side as someone who was a kid that was chronically ill at the time, before I started getting better. And I think about that kid, and I know he's not around because he had a condition where it eventually will take him when he reaches a teenager. So I think about things like that, like what if, this money goes towards making them comfortable, as comfortable as possible, giving them things that, they don't think they'll ever see, or like Make-A-Wish does amazing work, but they can't get to every kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's I think in the great wide world of charity, it's the saddest part about charity, because you want to raise this money to help so many people, but deep down inside it's not.
You can't help everyone, but
you can't help everyone. No, you can't be Superman. And I that's a lesson I learned last year, because I was doing back-to-back charities because I wanted to help so many people, and I was making myself even more sick. And I had to realize that I can't save everyone, that I can only do so much, and that I need to understand that if I'm dead, who am I going to help?
Yeah.
And it's a really hard realization.
People talk about burnout, but it's an entirely thing when you're literally physically burning yourself out.
Yeah, it is not a nice feeling. It's not a nice feeling at all. It just sucks. It sucks. It really sucks, because like I do want to help people and I do want to save people, but deep down it's just not in the cards for everyone. And that is the unfortunate truth of charity. It is the unfortunate truth. And I want people to understand that like, yeah, you're going to be helping people. That money's going to go towards some really awesome things, but understand that it's not going to save everyone in that situation. It's not going to get to everyone. Whether you want to believe it does, it doesn't. But I want people, when they raise money, to think about the people that you can save with that.
Charities, like I said, they're built on $5 and $10 donations, and $5 and $10 isn't going to save everyone, but one person at a time. That, like I said, even when it came to the soft giving thing of, all right, even if $1 more was raised, that 50% take is a lot more, and the communication regarding it was not good. But money was still sent to charities, and that is money that might not have been there otherwise. That if the amount that the charity would have gotten otherwise is $0, and instead is 50% of $100, that's $50. That's still a net gain. And that's part of why you see so many charities, so many organizations, because no, you're not going to have one organization that can do everything. That's why you have things that are so specifically tailored, and that why individuals, fortunately, I hate to use the word marketplace with charity, but it's probably the most appropriate term to use here, that you can go into the marketplace charities and find a cause that resonates with you, that you want to make sure that your money specifically goes towards, and that you can then see, or at least understand, all right, this is the direct impact of my donation, and that even if it's within a niche for a specific cause, it's not going to cure everything. That I'm I'm able to help at least in this little way, and that does make a difference because all these charities add up. And obviously, in a perfect world, charity doesn't exist because in a perfect world, charity is not necessary and everything is just perfect and fine. And we have to accept the fact that such a perfect world will not exist. So we'll have to do our best with charity.
Yeah, we have to do our best, and that's it in a nutshell. It's one of those things where like, and I always tell people are like, well, I didn't make my goal. I was like, the point is not making your goal. The point is doing your best and raising what you can, because every dollar counts. So like, I always get people who are like, oh, well, you know, I put my goal at like $250 and I only raised $50. And I was like, well, that's 50 more than the charity has. Isn't it silly?
Exactly.
It's 50 more than the charity has. It's literally, you're good. You're absolutely good. You have done more than what some people do in their lifetime to help other people. Think about that. Think about those positive moments. And like, don't think about the goal. Like, at least you did something, you know? It's 100% better than doing nothing. So that's like the best advice I always tell people is like, and don't get discouraged. Just take the lessons that you did of like, okay, what can I have done differently? Maybe I should add this incentives, and just have fun with it. Like, experiment. It's nothing wrong with experiment. You don't have to be starting off right off the back as the perfect charity streamer. I did Extra Life. My first goal was $100. I didn't get it. My first year of doing Extra Life charity, my first goal was $100. I think I did not reach it, and it discouraged me a little bit. But then I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna learn from this mistake and like do better next year, which I did. And each year I do better. I will admit though, I didn't do as high as I normally do for Extra Life. That's because of my mental health, and that's fine. I'm not gonna blame myself for that. My father just passed away, so I'm not gonna blame myself for that. But like, I'm always the person that's just like, okay, well, we'll do better next time. Simple as that. We'll do better next time. We'll raise the money, no problem. But at least they have this. Think of it like a placeholder. Be like, yeah, you got this for now, but you're gonna have more next time.
And with so many charity events under your belt, that you probably have a lot more data points than most people in terms of what incentives and what strategies work best, at the very least for you and for your audience. Are there any tendencies you found, any trends that have you found? Is there a type of incentive that you found just works really well, and maybe even a couple that you thought would work well that you've just found don't get traction?
Torture myself basically works all the time with my community. So I used to do this one. I can't do it anymore because now I do creature voice acting, so I can't do that anymore. I'm not going to damage my throat for I'm not going to damage my throat. But I used to do $100. I'll take a shot of ghost pepper hot sauce.
I don't know if I would do that for 100, maybe 250. I don't know.
Well, I do have a high tolerance to heat. I can get
okay.
The one chip challenge. I put that at $1,000, like straight up. It's like, ain't no way you gonna catch my ass doing that chip for lower than $1,000. For a goal. But I used to do like one shot ghost pepper drinks because I would put it at $100, and people would do it. People would be like, oh yeah, I want to see that torture. And like, but I have like I said, I have a higher tolerance to like spicy things sometimes, where I take the shot, I'm like, ooh, that sucks, and then it goes away.
Yeah, my pain tolerance, or rather my heat tolerance, is average to slightly below average. That I can be all right with stuff, but I'm not able to take some of the more intense things. That I always have the classic Bulldog 2X spicy noodles as a relatively medium low goal. I think I had it like $500 the first year and somewhere around $1,000, $2,000 the second year. Had it both times, and it's fine that it's at least flavorful. That
Yes.
I put in the full sauce packet. I don't dilute it with water, so it is as strong as it can be.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the thing. That I don't. That the way I prepare it, I boil the noodles, I then drain the noodles, so it's just the noodles, and I put the sauce on the noodles, mix up the noodles, that there is no broth.
Yep.
It is just
That's
all
exactly
in there, so it's as intense as it's going to be.
Yep.
And,
that's exactly how you're supposed to do it.
And it hurts, but it at least has flavor, and I would take the spicy noodles every day of the week over Bean Boozled. No question. Not a question.
Man, that Bean Boozled man, that's wild because, like, I guess I don't mind a Bean Boozled as much. I guess it's more like, I don't know, for some reason, I didn't mind a Bean Boozled, I guess.
They just wrecked me, and I said in the chat earlier that specifically the dirty dishwater and the used bandage. My hats off to whatever chemical engineer was responsible for making Bean Boozled. They accomplished their goal. They had the assignment, create the most disgusting tastes ever, and it is impressive that when you have that used bandage, there is this warmth. It's sort of like the sensation from cinnamon, but that it smells, it gets into your sinuses of just this absolutely rancid thing. And these are tastes that you've never put a used bandage in your mouth, you've never drank dirty dishwater, you've never eaten most of these things, but that mentally, what they have created, you mentally say, yeah, this is what I would expect this to taste like.
This is what I would expect, yes, exactly.
It is an impressive combination of flavor, chemistry, and psychology, and I respect the heck out of it. But it's terrible.
I think the worst one is, like, I think it's the fish one. Oh god, that one actually made me gag. I forget what it's called. It's something fish.
Probably rotten fish or something to that effect.
Rotten fish. That one and, like, smelly gym sock. Those one make me gag.
The other
really
ones that I've done for, like, weird food things is thick water, which is actually usually meant for medical folks that can't drink normal water for hydration. But it's this sort of, like, nectar, syrupy consistency of water, and it's just very weird, very unnatural. Doesn't taste like much, and if anything, the lack of taste makes it worse. One time, somebody donated to have me mix in, I think it was like iced tea powder or something, and that just made it better. Actually, made it a lot easier to drink. So I've had that, and just a couple other things, and that, yeah, in general, disgusting / painful without being dangerous things will do well in charity. That everyone likes to see the people go through tastefully uncomfortable experiences, pun half intended.
It's gross, but you're doing it for a good cause, and that's why I don't think about it when I usually ingest. Like, I did Pilk a couple times.
Oh, I thought Pilk was fine. The secret to Pilk is make sure that it's not room temperature. That
Oh, yeah.
that because I'd heard, and I did that last year. But if the milk and the Pepsi is refrigerated, it tastes like a melted float. Honestly, that was probably the easiest of the food or beverage related challenges I did. At least for me. I know some folks absolutely hate it, but I think more often than not, that's because they've had room temperature Pepsi involved, and then it curdles. But
that's so gross.
But I'm currently taking suggestions. Are there any favorites that you have, or perhaps least favorites that you think I might want to add for my upcoming marathon?
Oh God. I did one charity where I would draw people's VTubers terribly, or the VTuber they like terribly, on MS Paint. And give it to them. And I think it was like every $50. No matter what I was doing. No, that was for a Donodon. That was more for me. But I mean, for charity, I did the MS Paint one, which was fun because it would be like
that of just, all right, $50 donation. I will draw like a Pokemon from memory, or a VTuber from memory, maximum 3 minutes or something, and then I will send you the PNG of the thing. That could be interesting because I can still do that while talking with whatever guest I have on at the time.
Yep. You can. Oh, that's a good. See, that's a good idea.
That down. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea.
I didn't think about that. Like, you can do that while you're doing that with a guest. That makes a lot of sense. No, you should. That's something you could totally do, because that way, like, because some people have ADHD like myself, and then sometimes I like things when there are multiple things are happening. Like, I like watching a lot of art streams. Like, I'm a sucker for art streams. So like, I can't help myself. I can't help myself when it comes down to that. I am a big sucker for art streams. So I like seeing people talk and like do things at the same time. I watch a streamer named Red Claw, and I love his Gundam.
Oh, Red Claw's been on the show. He was on the show. Ooh, what episode was he?
He's my dad. He's my dad. He's my.
That's right.
Dad.
He is.
Yeah, he's gonna be my husband's VTuber dad, so technically that makes us siblings. So we joke about that with Red Claw all the time. We always be like, "Sweet home Alabama," but oh goodness.
Just checked. Red Claw was episode 67.
Oh wow, almost doubled.
Actually, yeah, almost exactly half from here.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, oh god, I lost my goldfish brain just kicked in.
Drawing, Red Claw doing art for both you and your husband.
Yeah. I just like watching people do things, so I think that would be a great idea to like do the MS Paint thing and while interviewing people. Or you can like draw, if someone wants you to draw the current VTuber there, that would be a good idea too.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, you can like draw the current guest there doing something. They can like draw so and so doing this. Long as it's like, of course, PG-13 friendly. You can't
of course
do like the lewd stuff. You can't do like the nasty stuff, but like, yeah, if you put like draw this person doing this and like you did that, that would make a lot of sense. And like with the person that's currently on the screen, and then they can look at it and like interact with it and stuff like that and talk about it and laugh even. I think that would be a good idea. I'm a genius.
Like I actually have opened a notepad document and I put that on there just so I don't forget it and have it after the stream.
I'm a genius when it comes to ideas for other people, not for myself.
And I know the standards that I've had, like I mentioned, saying ooh, ara, just very quick, easy things that, okay, donation came in, do the thing, 5 seconds or less, and we just continue on, but you have that funny little moment. For a couple ones, I've done the Final Fantasy 14 meme read, didn't know that you can play Final Fantasy 14 up to level 60, yada yada, especially when I have folks on who I know are FF14 players. That those get particular traction during those segments. Bean Boozled, obviously, the standing one I have is if you donate $100 cumulative throughout the course of the weekend, because I'm able to track that on the back end, that you get a 30-second custom safe for work audio from me. So I've done things of like recording the Scooby-Doo intro or just a wake-up alarm as a drill sergeant. Simple things like that after the marathon ends that I send DMs to people and just say, hey, let me know what you want. Some people respond, oh, I don't actually want the audio, I just wanted to donate, but it's an easy enough thing for me to record something silly for 30 seconds.
Yeah, like it's fun. Just have fun with it. Like when you think of these creative things, like maybe you can do one for like if someone donates maybe $500, they can get interviewed or something, or like $1,000 they can get like a interview that's going to go on Twitch and YouTube and stuff like that. That's something that it can definitely work, especially for your brand. And that's another thing, you have to think about your brand. What can work for your charity and also work for your brand? Like people who play Elden Ring, they do something, if someone donates something, they have to like kill their character off. There's a streamer that I watch named Aussie J Lee, a good friend of mine's, cosplay friend. We used to cosplay together back in Katsucon when we did League of Legends stuff. When he did a charity stream, he does Resident Evil 4 playthroughs, and he has a punishment wheel. When he did a charity stream, money was the punishment. So like a reset would be like $100. He would have to reset the
Yeah,
entire
crowd
game.
control style.
Yeah, but he did it his way. He did it his way
Yeah.
because it was So like I like it. It fit on his brand because he did the punishment wheel for his Resident Evil runs because Resident Evil is one of his favorite series. And he's probably gonna do 5 because apparently they may be remaking 5 or Code Veronica. So he's gonna have to play through the original of the game with the punishment wheel, then do the new game with the punishment wheel. And I personally have made him reset a lot.
Ooh.
And it was worth each and every time because if you sub to him, you get a roll for the punishment wheel. If you give him bits, you get 5 rolls for the punishment wheel. And I would just purposely make him reset because it was entertaining.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
It works. It was great to watch him suffer.
And well, I don't do that since I'm not a game streamer. That every year I've had a goal of I will, or at least this past year it was when we raised $6,000. I did a Elden Ring stream, and I am not good at Souls-like games, so that wasn't in the moment because during the actual charity marathon that I'm focused on the guests and everybody that's coming in and out. But that month or so afterwards, I did that. I've done dramatic readings of The Room and B-Movie. Need to figure out what bad movie I offer to do a dramatic reading of this year, but I'll find something. That's an easy enough thing to do, just special charity streams, reward streams after the fact. That way it's not something that will distract or derail what's going on during the event itself, but that afterwards you can fulfill those.
Okay. I think that's a good idea. A bad movie. I'm trying to think. What was a recently bad movie?
Could probably just do the 93 Mario movie.
Hey, listen, that movie has a special place in my heart, though.
The Room and B-Movie have special places in people's hearts, too.
That's true.
I'm not saying that it is without merit and unenjoyable. That's part of why I would want to do it, because it is at that unique point of terrible where it still can be enjoyed and where doing a dramatic reading of it would be entertaining.
Yeah.
Joshin says, watch One Piece. No. No.
I'm watching the live action One Piece.
I watched the live action because I watch a lot of anime. I watch probably about 10 shows a season. And that sounds like a lot at first glance, but when you break it down of, okay, 22 minutes times 10, I watch 2 to 3 movies a week. That just, every other day I watch a movie. When you say it that way, it doesn't sound quite as crazy.
Yeah.
But One Piece is a commitment. I'm not dedicating, I don't know, like, what does that equate to? Like 400 hours or something?
It's like,
I think
they said a half a year. It would take like a half a year.
No, that's too much.
No, 3 months. 3 months to watch the whole thing of One Piece straight.
Can't do that.
I am currently watching the live action for now, and I'm going to dedicate maybe watching the anime because, like I said, I got plans, and I didn't think about that. I have plans for like my future of my channel and stuff, and especially with my husband's debut, I have had no time. No time to do anything with my husband's debut and my outfit debut. It's been chaos. Like I said, his debut stuff looks really good. Oh my god.
I'm excited for that. Do you all have a date in mind yet, or is that still being nailed down?
January 18th is his debut day.
Okay, cool.
Hopefully.
So it doesn't overlap with mine. It's like right after.
Oh, everyone's in January. Everyone's in January. Like, well,
I feel like there's actually not much in January. I think there's more been in November, December.
Prism is in January. Prism's Play, hers 2.0 is in January. Red Claw's new model's in January. My husband's model's in January. There's 2 other VTubers.
We're just at the point where there's so many people that there is no such thing as a quiet month anymore.
I really thought, I was being big brain and was like, yeah, no, it's after Christmas. No one's going to be debuting January.
I do still think that it is proportionally less than what you have in November, December. I got lucky because my debut was on January 15th, And the way I do it is it's
Oh.
just the Saturday and Sunday that is closest to the 15th. 12 hours each day, like I said. That's one of the other biggest piece of advice that I ever got is don't do a 24-hour stream.
Oh no! I if I do a subathon, my ass is going to bed during it. My ass goes to bed during it. I think when I do my birthday one for my outfit debut, because I usually debut something new for my birthday or like something like that. I think I'm going to do it so that when I go to bed, I turn off the stream. And then I just let the timer go in my sleep, or I just let it roll, and I'm actually gonna sleep because sometimes you get anxious and you don't sleep, and so I think this time I'm actually gonna like sleep, and like really plan it out. But I'm not doing no 24 hours. I'm gonna do no more than 12 hours a day for sure.
That was just the initial idea. I was planning on doing 24 hours on the 15th for the anniversary. And I was talking with a guest about it, and they said, don't do that. I've never seen a 24-hour stream end well, that you're always good for the first 16, 18 hours, and then the last 6 or so are just a slog. You're not going to have a good time. You're not going to be energized. And it was a light bulb moment for me of just, you're right, and I need to... I was so married to the idea of, well, it's the anniversary, so it should be on the anniversary exactly. And as soon as that sort of clicked for me, it was like, wait, why? No, that's silly. I'll just do... I like the idea of doing 24 hours, but just 12 hours on Saturday, 12 hours on Sunday. And it is so perfect, so comfortable each time. I've gone over a little bit. The last year I did about 14 hours each day, but energy was good, and I didn't feel myself dragging at all, and that was fine. But I definitely know that if I had tried 24 hours, it wouldn't have ended well. But that the 2 12s has been perfect.
No, like, and always do it as your comfort level, because like my husband, when he's gonna debut, I was like, are you gonna do like a subathon or anything like that? He goes, no. He's like, I'm not to that point. I'm not to your level of marathon streaming to do that. I still like my introvert time. And I'm like, you know what? That's 100% valid and 100% fair.
That's the other thing. I don't do a subathon, that it is very explicit. This is the beginning, this is the end, this is the schedule. No matter how much we get, it will be this much time. I'm not going to leave that to chance and suddenly have a multi-week commitment on my hands.
I've seen some subathons go. Oh my god, there's a VTuber named Makari. I felt so bad for her. On the show. Oh, Makari, okay. So I felt so bad for her. Because, like, there'll be moments when the subathon's about to end and then someone drops a shit ton of subs. And I'm like, Makari would just stare at the screen. I'm like, oh, no, honey. Sis.
Wait, sorry. Was this Akari or Makari?
Makari. M-A-K.
Okay, never mind. Not Makari. I've had Akari on my show.
Okay. Oh, is that... Wait, Akari or Akami? Because I know in Akami...
Yep, no, sorry. It is Akami. Why did I say Akari? You're right. I'm so sorry, Akami.
No. Yeah, because there's Makari, then there's Akami that I know. But Makari, I think Makari went on for like a little over a month. I remember when Mouse did it. I was like, Mouse, please be okay, because you have chronic illness. Please be okay.
Fua is currently in her second subathon after... I feel like Fua was one of the trendsetters of the long VTuber subathon. And and she held the record for a bit, and then it was broken, and it looks like she's gunning for the record again. That I don't know what day she's on right now, but she's been at it now for, I think, about a month, and she's obviously set things up. I think she went for like 60-something days last time, and so she knows what she's getting into. She knows how to set it up to make sure that she is able to be healthy and sustainable. And I think that taking her learnings from that first run, that she's now more prepared than ever to, if it looks like she wants to set that record again. And I think she wants to set it at a distance so that she can keep it.
I mean, like, I blame... Oh, this is all Lugwing's fault, first of all. Because he actually invented the subathon. But like, it's definitely like I know I'm doing my birthday one, but that's gonna be because we're planning on moving and oh, okay, that got completed. We're planning a move and I want to use that money towards myself because I want to go to a convention with not as many people, just like have fun with really close friends. And if people happen to fly up, they're not staying in the same hotel room as me. I can just have that freedom of doing stuff and having fun and not making it a business. And then but I'm gonna be using that birthday subathon to try to move because my voice acting is getting louder and louder. My landlords don't like that. So 'cause I'm a creature actor too, and I've been getting a lot more work as a creature actor because there's not many femme creature actors. And it's a really nice not easy earning job, but like a hard working job because you have to know how to do certain voices. Because I didn't know I had to do a zombie voice for today, or I just didn't remember I had to do a zombie voice. So I had to remember all the times I worked at haunted houses, the voices that I did in like 1 hour time, and practice real fast. I was like, okay, yeah, I got this. But yeah, I'm like subathons definitely is something that takes a lot of. Definitely a mental thing. It's definitely a mental run. And you have to definitely put your heart and soul into it because like it is a marathon. It was a marathon. So yeah.
How long did your longest subathon go?
A week. It was a week. I think I decided to end it personally because I was getting too tired, and I knew my limits. So like I was getting way too tired. Way too tired. So yeah.
Desert Bus for Hope, the marathon that I'm a big fan of, in a way actually is the first subathon, but they run in a very unique way that I've never seen anybody else do. So like I said, it's 17 years old. It existed before Twitch. So it goes way, way back. And the way that they do it is they will go for 1 hour if they raise $1.
Right.
The second hour costs $1.07, and it compounds by 7% each hour. So the first day or so, if you raise $100 or so, that gets you your first 24 hours. By the time day 5 rolls around, it's about $20,000 for the next hour. By the time you hit day 6, it's $70,000 for the next hour. So it hits its logical end. And they designed it initially to end in a weekend because the first time they ever ran it, they were like, okay, what do we think we'll raise? What's our goal? How long will the weekend be? And they just reverse engineered it. Weekend will be about $5,000, and that's our goal. Cool, great. So they did that, and it was arbitrarily engineered just to fit that specific goal on their first run. They raised $20,000 their first year.
Jesus Christ.
So it went into Wednesday, and they're realizing this on Sunday. And at this point in time, they were not full-time content creators, so they had to scramble and basically start doing shifts and call out of work like one day each to get to Wednesday. And nowadays, they reliably get to just under 7 days, which is about $1 million. That they've raised $1 million the past 3 years. Like I said, it's 10 million lifetime over 17 years. And that it's basically hit its logical limit because of 7% each time it would take. To get to an 8th day from 7 days would be in the order of $10,000 in a year, which is not going to happen for some time. But they've made it that way, and it's interesting that they had that, and they were, if you just go chronologically, the first stream event to base its start and end time off of money raised. So it is sort of the first subathon, even before subs existed, because it's before Twitch existed. And I find it interesting that nobody else has adopted that type of model of compounding amounts, that it is all discrete, consistent amounts of, all right, a sub is $5 or whatever increment that you have, and that's what causes things to go on. Whereas if you use something that's compounding, you can have things increase, but at the same time, it builds in this limiter of sanity, and it doesn't have to be 7%. You can set it to be 10%, 1%, whatever, to make things consistent, but that it's this very interesting safety net that I've never seen anybody else use.
Yeah, it's definitely, yeah, it's definitely interesting. It's definitely interesting, and like, I'm thinking right now because
It's this weird calculation.
yeah, it is.
Just it's so simple and so logical, but compared to how most people in the content creator space think of doing a time incentivized event, despite the fact that chronologically it's the first, it's still a total anomaly.
Yeah, it's really, it's my brain.
Yeah, it's that compared to everything that we know, really, it's like, it's so weird, but it's so easy to explain because it is still in its own way this this simple calculation system that it's just, all right, 7%. It's not like you're having to do crazy weird calculations over and over. You still have that consistent multiplier.
Right, definitely.
But yeah, I've always found it very fun and interesting that they took that approach, and that it's actually persisted and just conveniently, accidentally fell in their favor of just now it's a week-long event. That's so perfect. That's so beautiful. Like it's not even 6 or 8 days that it is a perfect week. And the fact that 17 years after the fact, they've never changed that percentage formula. It's always been the same.
I think it's very smart. I want to see more charities do something like that. Like, it would be nice if, like, oh god, what is on Twitch when they play Pokemon? If they did something like that with the Pokemon game, oh my gosh, I'm trying to. Twitch plays Pokemon. There it is.
Yeah.
If they did something with the Pokemon game and stuff like that, that would be so cool. That would be so cool, and like I would love that so much.
Do you have any? Is there a type of charity event that you haven't done before that you hope to be able to do, whether it be just something about the execution or an organization that you haven't worked with yet that's on your list of, all right, I want to be able to do something with them?
I've already done the Santa thing with Tiltify, where I actually helped donate money to other charities, which was a dream come true. I got to do that. I would love to work with Jacksepticeye and Thinkmas. I would honestly, I'm gonna be 100% on. I would die if I've already done something else with Jack. I did the accessibility awards where we both presented at, which was an honor to present beside Jacksepticeye and like Ryan Reynolds and stuff like that. But like, I would love to personally talk and meet with Jack and do something with like charity with Thinkmas and do a VTuber thing, a special VTuber thing with a bunch of VTubers. That is the dream right there. That's the dream. Yeah, that would be awesome. That's something I've always wanted to do. I would love to work with like VShojo members too, because I actually do like a lot of the VShojo members, especially Mouse, because I relate to her.
Are prolific.
Yeah, I relate to her so damn much.
Yeah.
I really do. I think she's phenomenal. As someone who also has a really bad chronic illness, I feel a lot of her pain, and and she's come a long way. And
obviously, again, this past week with the Game Awards, that
that was
Iron
amazing.
Mouse winning Content Creator of the Year, which is just the clip of her reaction is so delightful because it is so clear that they had all the content creators record an acceptance speech because they weren't going to be there in person. It didn't matter that if it was Mouse or somebody else, but just that they probably weren't going to be on site. But that the way she screams
Yeah.
is just, go watch that clip if you haven't seen it, folks. It is something
I will.
special.
It's hilarious and adorable.
And I strongly believe that this is not going to be the last time that a VTuber wins Content Creator of the Year, but also just for it to be Mouse is indeed very special. That just, obviously her health struggles are very widely known, and her charity efforts as well, and that I'm very happy for her, and that she, and obviously all the folks that were nominated were very deserving, but yes, I'm glad that VTubers and that someone who has been through as much as her got to have this one.
Yes, and like I won awards as a VTuber. I think I won for the Game Hers for best charitable drive, and then I won for GGP awards, which was for charity advocacy. I won the Xbox Canada Local Spartan award, and I won recently the streamer People Color Streamer Awards for best community, I guess, for community first. So like I as someone who takes pride, I do take pride when I win awards. It is a prideful thing. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I'm modest, I'm humble. No, I took pride in winning each and every one of those awards.
There is I'm a big advocate for the line between pride and egotisticalness, and that people absolutely should take pride in their work, and you should, because you've done a lot of good work. And that there is nothing wrong with saying, yes, I did this and I think I did a good job.
Yes. It's one of those things where it's like I'm being recognized for all the charities I've done. And I was actually shocked that I won a couple of those awards, especially the Game Hers, because I was literally up. The Game Hers one was so terrifying because I was up against actual organizations. And it was me against organization charities. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to win because I'm just a person. And I remember, oh my God, I'm going to cry again. My husband sat down. He goes, you're more than just a person. You are a person that cares. You're all these things. And he just empowered me and said that you alone has done this. You're going against titans that have teams. Think about that if you win. And I did.
Honestly, that might have played a factor in it. Just the recognition of this is an individual who has put in the work and achieved the results that it has taken teams to do. Yeah, and it was one of those things where because they told me beforehand to record a winning message, and then they told me I won beforehand, but I can't tell anybody. So it was it was amazing when it happened, like, because I was just sitting there watching the stream, and then I had my community there, and they were like, Tiffany, yeah, let's go. And I was like, it felt so good. It felt so good. Like, oh my God. It was like I went against some titans and still did it all by myself. And that was the most rewarding thing. It's like, yes, it was a little bit of a competition, but like to know that I as a lone person can do big things really inspires me. It's inspiring me right now. Yeah. Makes me I can't wait for my charities for next year. I'm very excited because we have big plans for VTubers for Hope, and then we have one for cancer and Game On to End Lupus. And I'm doing one for one of my mods, and then the final, I said 4 charities, probably gonna end up being 5. And then the final one's gonna probably be something for Christmas. So I'm very excited for next year. And I was like, wow, I was eating and you were talking. I quickly made a post on Twitter saying, because we talked about the Tiltify post, and I stared at it for a second as we were talking. I'm like, damn,
that's a great accomplishment. That's what I, love to see for myself. Is like me doing big things and like being proud of myself,
And that actually brings us pretty neatly that we've been at this for 3 hours now, and
shit.
yeah, time flies. Time flies when you're talking wrestling, charity, and a lot of other fun stuff.
We didn't even get to the fork and socket.
Well, we'll have to save that for the charity marathon then.
Okay. Yeah.
Whenever hopefully you'll have a little bit of time, since it'll be right before your husband's debut. To stop by for a little bit, and that we can make that one of the charity incentives of, okay, donate $200 and you'll get to hear the fork and socket story. That we will use this for charity, Tiffany. It's perfect.
Oh yeah, you guys, the fork and socket story is something even my husband laughs at to this day, because I told him an add-on to that story. He was like, "You're so special."
But it dovetails into it nicely because I have just 2 questions that I ask all my guests.
Yeah,
and the first is, it's usually what are your goals for this year, but now that we're in December, I am shifting over to what are your goals for 2024, and you just gave me sort of the headlines of, all right, these are the 4 or 5 charity events that you're looking at, and that it's not necessarily going to be the gauntlet that you've done in the past of 20, 30 events in a year, but step me through your goals for 2024 and a bit more detail of each of these 5 events.
So I'm definitely planning. There's my outfit debut. Well, first let's get to my partner. My partner Malice Incarnate. He is going to be debuting on January 18th. Brand new VTuber. He has amazing assets. I would say better than mine. I would say much better than mine. But we put a lot of this has been like a 1.5-year project to make him a full-time VTuber, and it's all gonna be happening January 18th. My outfit debut and 3 new song covers are gonna be March 13th and March 14th. I'll be covering 2 songs I've already revealed. One is Writings on the Wall by Sam Smith, because I do love that song, and the other one is the metal version of Cobra by Meg Thee Stallion and Spirit Box. But the third one I'm keeping a bit of a secret because I wanna have fun with this cover. It's gonna be a very fun cover, and I'm gonna be doing a cover with Red Claw, which I'm very excited for. Also, there's VTubers for Hope, which is going to be a charity that I organize, where we get a bunch of VTubers over the weekend to help raise money for a charity. It could be for cancer, it could be for able gamers or something like that. And then I am opening, the final thing that I'm really, really happy for is I am opening my own VR chat place this year. I'm very, very excited. I have so many videos. I've been showing progress slowly on my Twitter, and I am so happy. I'm so happy, and I cannot wait to show you guys and have special guests come by for the opening of my actual 3D potion shop. And I'm so happy. But yeah, those are my plans so far for 2024. Of course, do more voice acting, accessibility reviews, help those in need. But those are my big goals for next year, and moving.
Mm-hmm.
To move by the end of the year.
And the last question I ask all my guests is, what does being a VTuber mean to you? And that's not what is the definition of a VTuber, but different people get different things from VTubing.
Yeah.
And I've had folks say, VTubing lets me get in touch with my inner child, or lets me be someone I can't be in real life. Others have had a more clinical response. They've said, it is a mask that I wear. It's a tool in my tool belt as a content creator. I don't necessarily feel a deep emotional connection to my model, but I wouldn't want to create content without it, or I think that I am able to be a better, more creative content creator with it, and I still love it in that way. And those are 2 very different responses, especially emotionally, but there is no wrong way to be a VTuber. So for you, Tiffany Witcher, what does being a VTuber mean to you?
It allows me to be myself without the worry of my disability and my illness. I became a VTuber because of that, because with lupus, you get a rash on your face, and I rash up a lot, and I have to put a lot of makeup on. And thanks to who is my 3D mama, Kilakuma, I watched her. She was the first VTuber I watched, and it was amazing watching her be able to be herself with a 3D avatar, and I wanted to do that. And for me, it just felt right to become a VTuber, because it's been I've only gone up ever since I became a VTuber, because I've felt comfortable. I was going to quit streaming at one point, but when I started VTubing, my passion came back like tenfold. And to know that it can help someone with a disability like myself, or chronic illness, that is a feeling that I love to spread, and that's information that I love to give to other people.
I always ask that at the end of the show because it sort of helps put a bow on things, but also because after talking with someone for even a couple of hours, the answers always make sense. And that for you, that obviously you've been very open, and well, we didn't actually talk much about lupus and your own experience with illness, that it obviously has come up in passing and being mentioned throughout the show tonight, and that it makes a lot of sense that that is something that a lot of people have found VTubing to be really good for, of just, all right, whether it's as simple as, all right, I don't want to have to worry about putting on makeup and being camera ready, but also just the very real situation of, all right, if I am physically not able to necessarily portray energy, or just that if there's, in this case, a skin condition as a result of a medical condition that just makes you not as confident as you want to be on camera, that this is one of the really great things about VTubing, that it allows people who otherwise might not have ever become content creators, or may have dropped content creation, to find something new, to not only have this option, but then the number of creative outlets and projects that can go from there are so vast, in that it's brought this whole new group of people into content creation. And that is so special. And I'm really glad that you were able to discover VTubing, and that you've been able to incorporate that and all of your experiences into all the amazing work that you have done and that you are planning to do in the future. And I'm just so happy that I was able to have you here tonight.
Yeah, I was happy to be here. I'm sorry I look tired. I don't mean to. I think there's something wrong. Like, I've had a good time. I didn't know it was 3 hours. I thought we were just in the second hour.
That's
getting
one
old.
of the great things of just, you glance down at the time, it's like, oh wow, we have been up for that long, and time flies when you're having fun.
Time flies when you're having, especially if you're having a good conversation. Yes, indeed.
The actual last question I have is, who would you like us to raid?
Oh, let me see who's online.
I will let you look around for that while I do some last housekeeping. So for anybody who is watching right now, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I do these shows about once a week, but I schedule around guests, so I can't offer too much regularity. But if you enjoy this type of show, you can follow me here on Twitch and on Twitter. It is just Vtuber Talk, both places. I also have Blue Sky, which I need to actually add that link, don't I? But even if you aren't following me, be sure to follow Tiffany. Her links are here at the bottom of the screen. They're down in the channel panels if you're watching live on Twitch, and they'll be in the video description on YouTube. Hi, YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe. Yeah. And definitely you can look forward to the upcoming charity event in January. Of course, Prism.
My sister! She's gonna be my VTuber sister. I'm so excited.
Yes, indeed. Prism was on the show a couple months ago. Absolutely delightful. So, for anyone in chat, be sure to let Prism know that Tiffany sent you. Tiffany, thank you again. I really appreciate it. Hope to be able to see you back in about a month.
Yeah, I'll definitely help you out. I'll definitely help you out. If you like, I'll be down.
Oh, absolutely, and I definitely appreciate it. So we will talk later. I really do appreciate it. And again, thank you to everyone in chat. You all have a great rest of your evening, and I will see you all next time.
Yeah. Bye.